feels like a test that I fail, so depressed when I can't seem to get out. But something deep inside won't let me quit. I swear that I'm inspired by all these truths. Tell me that I can and I won't. That's what guides me the most. You lies, I'll do what I want. I'm inspired by thirst, I'm inspired by worth. I desire your worst, so you can just hide while I work. I ain't tired, you first. I'll write a second, third verse about the lies you go disperse. You never did shit, I know it hurts. But something deep inside won't let me quit. I swear that I'm inspired by all this truth. Tell me that I can and I won't. That's what guides me the most. You lies, I'll do what I want.
Hello there everyone and welcome back to Crime and Justice. Hi there Anne, how are you tonight? I got up today to go shopping with my daughter, only up to Asda, right, because I've got to get my Easter eggs in. So I've got up a little bit earlier in case you come over about 10 o'clock. Normally I don't get up till about 9:30. Anyway, so I'm up, I'm ready. She comes, she goes, Mum, what? I can't come with you today. Oh, that's okay, babe. What's up? Vincent, he had a headache this morning, so she gave him some Calpol or whatever it was she gives him. Goes to school, but the headache was still there. And with Vincent is anything like that, you cannot get him to calm down. He will not calm down. So she said, tell you what, I'll just come and get him. He's not going to calm down. Doesn't matter what you do, he's not going to calm. So she had to go and get her little boy. I mean, that's okay. I said, I'll go up on my own. She said, well, we can go Friday. I said, well, I'll go up today anyway because there's things I need to get anyway. And I come back, and then my son and his wife have gone down to, oh God, dare I say it? Dare I say this word? Gone down to Dudley. Right? Because one of his best men that he had for his wedding is getting married tomorrow in Dudley. I mean, Dudley! I said, that's worse than fecking Birmingham. I said, Dudley! He went, yep. So they've gone off down there today for the wedding tomorrow, and then on Friday they're going into Birmingham city centre. Oh, God. I said, tell your missus, do not get her phone out and walk around with her phone in her hand. Do not put it in your back pocket. Keep it firmly in your bag at the bottom end of the bag so no one can grab it. Right? I said, because you get your phone out in Birmingham, you must have said, yeah, anyone want my phone? Because within a second, that phone is gone. It's gone. Kaput. So, yeah, my grandson will be fine. I think he has his dad when he knows his mum's at home, right? He knows his mum was at home today. And that's why he had this little, I want to be at home with my mum, right? It's like when she's got a holiday and if it's in the school term, she can guarantee nearly every day or every other day, he's going to want to come home. He's going to complain about something and then come home. So he doesn't like it when his mum has to work early. She does have to go in early. She goes into work for what? 5 o'clock in the morning, some mornings, ready to get everything ready for the 6 o'clock opening. Right? Because they have to get all the bread ready, all the bacon and everything, sausages all prepared. Because they do breakfasts and things like that for takeout. And he doesn't like it because his mum's not there in the morning to take him to school. His dad is. Now, this has been going on for a few years now, where the dad takes him to school. And he don't half play up some mornings. He won't go in. So the dad puts him back in the car, goes round to the D's, says he won't go in, he's waiting for you. So he'll end up going in late because he won't go in without his mum. So that's what he's like. Where Ellis is like, am I going to get a good bite? Nope, gone. He's in that school. Well, we don't see him in the school. We see him into the taxi. It's like, bye, Mum, I'm off. And in that taxi, he jumps. The only way you're going to get a phone call to come and get him is if he's really ill, right? Or he's had an accident of some sort or something like that, you know what I mean? But 9 times out of 10, they can deal with that. If they're having a little accidents. But, yeah, Ellis he gets up in the morning, he's waiting for his taxi. Where's this taxi going to be here? When's my taxi coming? When's my taxi coming? He's in that taxi and he's bye. But he does like to give his little sister a hug, a kiss and a hug before he goes. He does get upset if he doesn't. Like the first day he got on the bus, right? The first day, and it was his first day, and he's never gone to school without his mum or dad before, and he was going on the bus at this time, and he was at the back of the bus crying his little heart out, and I found out when he got home it's because he didn't get to give his sister a hug and kiss. So every morning I made sure that Olivia gave him a hug and a kiss before he got on the bus. And the same, like now she has to go before her dad takes her for 8 o'clock. She has to be there for 8 in the morning. Right? So she has to go before Ellis, so she'll give him a kiss and a hug before she goes. Yeah, he loves it at school. I've always said, if Ellis ever turned around and said he don't want to go to school, he don't like school, then I'll be questioning the school. What is going on here? My son loves school. Now he doesn't. So what is going on? Something's going on in school for my son not to want to come. If he's ill, like when you have the sickness and diarrhea book, he hates it. He hates it because he can't go to school. He hates not being able to go to school. Where Vincent was, yeah, quite happy to have the sickness and diarrhea book, you know what I mean? So he is doing really well. They had my son was telling me they had like some meeting the other week about him. About, where they tell you about how he's getting on at school and everything. And from what I can make out, he's got on really, really well. Settled down lovely. So, he's doing well there. Anyway, I thought tonight, because Cooper asked about it, about this interview with Bobby the Neighbour. Yeah. Well, I'll tell you something now before I go on about this, what I'm going to do tonight. When he was at the nursery in Dundee, before he went to school, there's one morning, Simon was taking him up there, and he had a total meltdown. They walked him down the road, crossed him over the road, and then all he had to do is walk up this other road with his dad. No. Total meltdown. So his dad had to bring him back home. And I said to them, on the first time I ever went to pick him up from nursery with his mum, I heard him crying outside. So I've stood on the wall trying to peer over the fence because he wasn't allowed in until a certain time when they opened the gate. And I saw Ellis walking from one area of this playground to another area. And in that process, there was two teachers, and not one of them, I watched them. One was right by where he was, and one was on the steps as he walked past to go into this other little area. Not one of them stopped and asked if he was okay. What was wrong? Can they help him? Nothing. So I've gone up there, and this teacher's standing there with her arms folded. Now, I know that's like a barrier for them. I'm in charge. You can't get past me, sort of thing. So I walked up, and I was seeing her with her arms folded. I've stood there and went, I can do that as well, love. So, well, it's upset because he wanted to go on this one ride, and this other boy was on it. I said, but no one consoled him. No one. I've seen him. I watched him from down there. He was crying his little heart out. Not one of you stopped and asked him. I said, so you're standing there with your arms folded. I can stand here with my arms folded. I'm not the happy gran here. And I did not like that teacher. Right? And one day, Tracy sent him into school with jeans on. It was on a Friday. He was coming to mine. So we've gone to pick him up. And the teacher stopped, his little classmate come out of this one area, gone off to go with his mum. And Ellis wanted to run up to her to say goodbye. She stopped him dead at the gate. I'm looking at him going, you better let my grandson out that gate before I knock you 10 foot over. Right? And she went to the mum, do you notice anything here? And we're both looking. I'm going, yeah, you're not letting my grandson out the gate. She said, no. So do you notice something? And his mum's going, no, I don't. He's got jeans on. Yeah. So we've actually not to put him in jeans because it's very hard to change like pull-ups or anything like that. Now, this was when he was in nursery. He was only, 2, 3? Right? And with Ellis saying he still wasn't potty trained. And they understood that. But they're going, you can't have him in jeans. And I looked at her and I went, Tracy, move away a minute. Just back off. Back off. And I stood in front of her between Tracy and the teacher. I said, right. I said, I'm the gran. Let my grandson out of that gate now. Because otherwise I'm phoning the police and I'm having you up for kidnapping. I said, I'm not kidnapping. I went, you are stopping him from coming out to his mother. I can see he's upset already now. Now you let him out of that gate before I phone the police on you. So then she let him out the gate. I went, thank you. Then you went up into like what they call reception or whatever it is before year 1. And I said to him, he's being bullied, Trace. No, he's not. He causes the trouble a lot of it. I went, I literally flew at my daughter-in-law. I went, what? I said, he's being bullied and you're... Ugh! Right, so I knew then he was being bullied. I did not like that nursery. Angie, his other grandson, oh, but that nursery's nice. Tracy went there. Emma went there. I went, you can go fuck yourself. I said, that nursery's the worst fucking nursery going. It's horrible. Right? After we left the nursery and we had him in the other school, right? We got him into the school then. We had to go past that nursery one day. But then we had to come back again because I forgot something at the flat. And as we were waiting for his mum or his dad to come back to the car, he said, I used to get bullied at that nursery. I said, I know you did, sweetheart. I said, but you know what? I tried everything. I did. I tried everything to get it to the thick schools of my son and his wife that he was being bullied. Right? I said, I know you are, sweetheart, but there's nothing I could do. I did everything I could, sweetheart. But you know what now? You're not there now. You're not in that school now. You're away from them lot. I said, you're in a good school now, aren't you? He said, yeah. I said, that's all you got to worry about. Is that you're in the school that is good. So I knew he was being bullied. And yet Tracy turned around once and said, well, he starts it. I said, I don't give a flying feck. How do you know that child hasn't said something to him for him to lash out? You don't. So you've got to stand up for your child. You've got to. So now she does. She does stick up for him. Stands up for him a lot now. Because she's realised he was bullied at that nursery. I mean, yeah, you finally found out after you got him out of that school. After. All those three, what was it, 2 till 4, how old was it, 2 to 3, 3 to 4, 4 to 5. Yeah, it should have gone up into P1 when he was 5, but they kept him back a year. So he's like 3, 4 years at that school. And in all that time, he was being bullied. He was either being pushed aside by the teachers and being ignored or bullied by the other children. And I was talking to this woman once who used to do this, they set up these playtime for the kids. And they use all sorts of stuff. Old tyres, old sheets, old anything where the kids can just use their imagination, right? So, and they set one up outside where I lived at the time. And I was talking to her. I said, yeah, he was in a nursery once. I said, but I can't really say what nursery. I said, but it was a horrible nursery. She said, tell me. I said, I can't. She said, no, tell me. And I told her. She said, oh, yeah. Yeah. I've heard a lot of parents say about that nursery. Right? But now he does get listened to. The school listens to him. Even at his other school, the school used to listen to him. Everything. You know what I mean? Because they are trained to work with children like Ellis. His other nursery kept saying, I kept saying, get him out of that nursery. Get him out of that nursery. Get them out of that fucking nursery. Oh, but they're saying they can deal with him. They can't deal with him. Get him out of the nursery. He doesn't have to be there. You can keep him at home until he's 5 and then send him to school. You know what I mean? He didn't have to be in that nursery. No child has to go to nursery. That's just a choice. But they do have to go to school when they're 5. It just helps them associate more, socialise with other children and things like that. I said, but when your child's being bullied, get him out. That school they haven't got the staff to work with children with autism or ADHD or anything like that. And they kept saying in this meeting, oh, this is the best place for him. I swear to God, let me go to one of those meetings. I was going, let me go to one of those meetings. They wouldn't let me go. Simon Tracy would not let me near that school with the teachers. Right? When he was moved, transferred over schools, so he went into P1, yeah? When he went up to P1, we had a meeting, right? Like you do, like, when they're settling in, just to let you know how they've settled in and all that lot. And they asked me if I wanted to go. I went, oh, you're asking me if I want to go? Yeah, I'll go. I'll go. When is he? So that day we went up there. You know what the headmistress said? Said, we had reports from that school on all the children. All the children we have, we get reports from their schools on them. And when we got the report for Ellis, we thought, oh dear. And I even said to the teacher, I said, we've got a rough one coming here. Is like, we've got a really child we've got to really work with. You know what I mean? His behaviour and everything. She said, and I read that report, really prepared to, come on, give me your best, Ellis. You know what I mean? She said, I found him to be totally the opposite. Said, what they put in their report for your son, I would call, well, she didn't say BS. She said, I would have to call him out on that. Said, because it wasn't nothing compared to what he was. Nothing. Let me loose on that. Oh, I swear to God, I hated that school. And I said, do not send Olivia to that nursery. Do not send Olivia to that nursery. Right? And they put her in for this. They did put Den's Road down, but that was one of the third choices. And the other one was a bit further away, walking distance though, but further away. And that one was brilliant. I just wish that one had been open when Ellis was that young, because he could have got in there. Because this nursery Olivia went to, she was there all day. I think from, was it 8:30 or 9? I think it was 8:30 till 2:30. Something like that. 8:30 or 9 till 2:30 in the afternoon. They had wellies there for them, rain gear for them, so they had waterproofs, everything. So if it's raining, they never stopped the children going outside. They knew they had to put the wellies on. They knew they had to put the raincoats on that was there for them, right? And the kids could come and go, in and out. No one's stopping them. Yes, they was being supervised, but the teachers wasn't stopping them. Oh, it's too wet out there. You don't want to go out there. No, the child wanted to go outside. As long as they had the wellies on and the waterproofs on, they went outside. And that's the sort of nursery Ellis could. And they had children there with autism at that nursery. So they knew how to work with children with autism. Hi, Michelle. So, yeah. So she went to that nursery, brilliant nursery. But Danes Road. Anyone listening in and you're in Scotland and you live in Dundee and your child goes to Danes Road School or nursery and they need special needs, they are special needs, get them the hell out of there. Because that school is crap. And apparently all schools now in Dundee have to have a special SEN section for special educational needs. I went, so you're telling me Dens Road is going to have a SEN section? Yeah. Are they going to have fully trained staff working there, or just anyone they can pick up off the fucking streets to do it? I said, because they didn't have the staff before. So where's they going to get the staff from for the special education needs section? I was just telling them about my grandson with his nursery, when he was at nursery, and how he used to be bullied. And I used to stick up for him many times. A couple of times I've gone there and I've had to stick up for him. I'm going to fucking smack her head in. But look at her, that teacher left. She retired. But thank God for that, because, right, but yeah, Ellis is doing fine now in this school. And Olivia, she's in nursery. She's only in mornings, but she's there from 8, I think 8 till 12:30. That's better than nothing. And it is a bus ride away. Right, it is a bus ride away. So it's a bit of a joke back and forth to take her in the mornings, especially when my son is at work. But he tries to take her before, if he can, he'll try and take her before he goes to work. He'll drop her off on the way to work if he can. But then by the time Tracy gets back from dropping her off, she's literally got like an hour and a half plus, say 2 hours at the max, before she has to go out again to pick her up. Yeah, they're both settling in. So I'm pleased to punch with that. Took the time. It took them some time getting them into these schools, but they got them into the school I wanted them in the first place. And this nursery is a nice nursery. Well, she's come home the other day. I'm like, how's nursery been today, sweetheart? She went, I haven't been hit today. Well, my face went, well, you can imagine my face. I went, pardon? Do you want to say that again, please, Olivia? She said, I wasn't hit today. I said, who hit you? And when? Yesterday, one of the boys hit me. I'm thinking, did you knock 10 tons of shit out of him? So I went, and what did you do, sweetheart? She said, I told the teacher and I told my mum. I went, oh, that's good. I said, what did the teacher do? She said, the teacher told him off. I went, oh, okay. Okay, then. So you didn't have to knock 10 tons of shit out of him. Right? But, said, no, he didn't hit me today. I said, then he shouldn't hit you any day, sweetheart. If he hits you, you tell the teacher and you tell your mum. If the teacher don't do anything, and your mum don't do anything, you tell me, because I will. Okay? If your mum don't do anything, tell me, I'll fucking sort it for you, sweetheart. And I won't go to their school. I'll wait for the child to come out with the mother. Find out who the mother is first, right? Then go back the next day while the child's still in nursery and collar the fucking mother. You're someone who hit my granddaughter? Now, teach your son to keep his hands off my daughter. The weather's here are horrible today. Well, actually, I went to Asda this morning. It was okay. I've come back and it's been horrible since I've come back. Torrential rain and everything here. We're expecting some very high winds as well. Glasgow has had a warning for high winds. I'm thinking, oh, thanks. So if you suddenly lose me tonight, it's because we're having bad winds. Right, we've got high winds. But my parcel came today that I've been waiting for, of the bamboo plant for my son. And it's only like so high at the moment because it's only young, like a sibling. So that's come, and my 2 plants which I ordered for me and my daughter have come. So we've just got to repot all them. So I'm pleased about that. I tell you, anyone hurts my grandkids, forget the parents. I'm in first. I'll be in first. You know, because I won't go to the. If it's been reported to the school and the school's doing nothing, then I will find out who the mother is or the father. Right? I don't care. I'll go up against the men. Right? I'll find out who the parents are. Then the next day, I'll go back and I'll wait for that parent to turn up before they pick the child up. So the child isn't there when I'm pulling up the parent about the behaviour of their child. Hi, Coopening. Who's perturbed our Angela today? No, I was just saying about my granddaughter yesterday. She come home. She's coming. I mean, how's nursery been? She said, good. She said, I wasn't hit today. But you could just imagine my face when she said that. I said, thinking, what do you mean you wasn't hit? I said, what was that again, sweetheart? She said, I wasn't hit today. I said, who's been hitting you? Said, one of the boys in the class hit me yesterday. I said, and I'm thinking, did you knock 10 tons of shit out of him? Right? And she said, I said, what did you do, sweetheart? She said, I told the teacher. I said, yeah. She said, I told my mum. I went, okay. So he did knock 10 tons of shit out of him. Okay. What did the teacher do? The teacher told him off. I said, fair enough. Fair enough. The teacher done something to them. But honest to God, it really, ooh. And some, like my daughter, she'll stand up for her son all day long. And as I said, my daughter-in-law is starting to do it now. In the last, what? Oh, how long do you think now? He's like, in the last 4 to 3 years, she's been sticking up for him more. She's been speaking out more for him. I don't think she's the sort that like confrontation. And my son, he's like his dad. He doesn't like confrontation. When my daughter's like me, she'll go for the jugular. She'll go for your jugular. My daughter would. So she's like me, but my son doesn't like confrontation, and that was like his dad. His dad, if there's any confrontation going on, my husband would stand back and go, let her go. And they go, oh, you're going to stop her? And he'll go, nope, I'm not stopping her. You want to stop her? And they go, no, I'm not stopping her. Fine, let her go then. So I'd go off on a rant at a neighbour or someone, and no one would step in. No one. I remember that. Did I tell you about that time when we was at the park that time with Ellis? And I've sat on the bench, and I'm just up a little bit from him, and I've just took my eye off him for literally, 30 seconds to put something back in my bag, my phone or something I was putting back in my bag. And I looked up, and I've seen this woman shaking her hand with her finger going, blah, blah, blah. I went, is she going on like my grandson there? So I walked up, and she was. And I went, excuse me, why are you behaving like that towards my grandson? He done this blip. I went, well, why are you having a go at my grandson? Why don't you come and find his gran or his mother? Well, I don't know who you are. I said, you only have to ask him, and he will point you to me. You only have to ask him, where's your mum or whatever, and he'd have pointed you to me. And she stood there, then turned around to me, and she's pointing her finger at me. I went, and if you don't put that finger down, I will snap it in half. Right? I said, you are screaming and ranting at my grandson, and he don't know what he's done wrong. Right? And then with that, after I threatened to snap her finger in half, because she's pointing it at me, I've got every right to snap her fecking finger in half. She turned round to her partner who was sitting on the bench, literally feet away from us. And she said, you got anything to say about this? Like, and he's just stood there, sat there, going, whoa, I'm not getting involved. And I looked at him and I went, you going to get involved? Oh, yeah, come on then. And he sat there and went, no, I'm not getting involved. I'm not getting involved. So, yeah, I hate it when parents, you only have to ask a child, where's your mum? Or who are you with? Your mum? And Ellis would have said, no, my gran. Where's your gran? Over there. Then if she could come up to me and have a go at me, I'd still threaten you to break her finger if she could point her finger at me. But at least she had the decency to come to me rather than go to my grandson. Yeah, same here. I might be 60, but I feel like some days I feel like, especially in the mornings, I feel like 80. Like, when your bones are creaking, or you're getting up off a chair and your legs are a bit stiff. Yeah. Right? And, but during the day, it's like, I feel like I'm like I was when I was 30, ready to take the world down and everything with it. So, well, you see, I said it before. I used to do martial arts. called Aikido. And it's a Japanese martial art. And we used to do what we called weapon work. And all the moves we learned in the moves with our hands, by doing it with our hands, is all the moves you do when you're working with the swords and the shinais and all that lot. So I did some martial arts. I might teach my grandson and granddaughter one particular good little, it's a good one. Honest to God, just grab the person by the thumb, grab them by the thumb, hold on to that thumb so hard that you're literally bending it backwards. You will see that person crumble. Honest to God, you put pressure, you hold that thumb with pressure on the, like, just past the knuckle, right? Yeah, just up from the knuckle. Hold the thumb, put pressure on it and bring, I swear to God, that person's going to drop. Because I used to do it a lot. I was shown it by my tutor. And someone said, what's a move I can do without having to do the martial arts? So I said, I'll show you one. And I said, okay. So I said, grab the thumb like that. So your whole hand is around the thumb. Get your thumb and put the pressure right there. And push and bring that thumb back. I swear to God, you yank that thumb back and put that pressure there. You're either going to break the thumb, but you're going to take them down. Yep, they drop to the knees, honest to God. So, anyway, tonight we're going to watch the interview. Hold on, let me pull it up. The picture, I should say. Pull this picture up. Of the interview with Bobby the neighbour. Now, as you can see on the screen, it is done credit through. I think I've got his banner up already. I'm not sure. No, I've got to create a banner. Create banner. Right, I can get it. I'm down scrolling. So we're going to have that there. So we can listen to this interview. And I was listening to it today. And there's little things. I'm not sure if I did hear them before or if I hadn't heard them before. But every time when I did hear them today, I'm thinking, that's new. But I'm not sure if I've heard it before and it just not registered it. Yep. That's another good one, Michelle. Straight, yeah. Straight for the throat. I'll tell you a good move. Right? Someone comes up behind you, you have to act quick. You have to act really quick. If someone comes up behind you and grabs you, your immediate action is to grab their arm to pull it down. Fair enough, use your one arm to grab them. But then use your other arm to elbow them. And as you elbow them, you bring your arm down and smack them in the middle wicket. And as you smack them in the middle wicket, if you've got heels on, right in their foot, they're going to let go. Because if you've got heels on, it's like a lethal weapon. Just elbow, down, hit, foot. She did this interview, Michelle. Then I'm sure she went on to one of the other channels, the dark side, right? And she was telling them totally different stuff there. Like, everything she said on here wasn't true. It's like, whatever she said on here, she was coerced into saying and things like that. I'm going, you weren't coerced. So, you know what I mean? But I haven't been able to find that interview. Yeah. Oh, the Glasgow kiss. Yes, we all know that one. The Glasgow kiss. But no, I think she did this one and then she went on to another channel, Eyes Open Side, the Dark Side. She was on their channel. But we won't talk about it. Still deny my brother's nose. You gave her the Glasgow kiss. Oh dear. Anyway, I've got it on my phone. When I can get my phone to open up again. Come on, you piece of shitty phone. I forgot what to do to get you to open up. Thank you. I remember when I first got this phone, my son set it up for my eye. So I can open it up by scanning my eyes. Right, scan eye. And I remember once, my daughter-in-law needed to get in. She said, can I use your phone, Ange? I went, yeah. So she picked it up and then realised it was an eye scan. So she's doing that with my phone in front of me and I'm going, what are you trying to do? She said, scan your eye. I said, give me my phone. Punch the code in. Because you can either punch the code in or eye scan. And she said, you could have told me the code. I mean, I'm not telling you my code. Did you ever... You know what? I did look today and I haven't seen any new emails. Well, actually, I did. I had a couple of new emails. Hang on, I'm going to pull them up. But I haven't seen any from you, Michelle. I've had one from Neuro, one from Anne. I'm wondering, have they sent it down to the bottom of my file again? Oh, God. When was this sent? March the 21st. This was... See... For fuck's sake. You know what? I don't know why they're doing this. They've got it down as sent March... Oh, that was yesterday. Oh, it's come through yesterday, but it's coming down like everything else, in the everything else pile. I don't know why it keeps doing that. I'm going to have a look to see why it keeps putting you. It's not just yours, there's others as well that keep coming down to the bottom. I'm thinking, why do they keep doing that? Why aren't they coming up at the top? So yeah, I've got it now. I'll have a look later. Thank you. I don't know why it does that. Like, some emails come in straight away at the top, but other emails, like yours, I have to scroll right down and go to earlier, where it's got earlier emails, like from 5 days ago or yesterday or whatever. You know what I mean? But I shouldn't have to go down there on the same day. It should be coming to the top, not down to there. So I'll have to check my settings on my email. So we're going to listen to this. Now, I recorded it today, so it's a recording I've made rather than using JLR's recording. It is JLR, but it's just a recording I've made for so that I know where it is. I've got it there. You know what I mean? I haven't got to keep hunting through for it. I know where it is. That's why, like at the moment, I'm looking for all the videos with Chrissy where it's been vile and just like vile. Right, so I can do a compilation of all those videos and put all them in one place. Right, and things like that. And then once I've got all theirs in, I'm going to go and do some for Seth, some of his videos, right? and put them all in one place, because I'm fed up of needing interviews and finding and somewhere where they've said this and I'm noting an interview, and then I have to spend like half hour or so just finding that interview. So I thought if I can get them all in one place, then I'll be happy. Get my mic up there. Make sure my mic is on. Yeah. Just make sure the volume's up. Yep. And here we go.
Yeah, I mean, you're active in the Sebastian groups. You do talk, you do share, you share a lot of insight. You've been there from day one, right? Yeah, well, I don't know that I was in your group from day one. I was in another group from...
Can you hear that okay?
Well, not really even... Honestly, day one was such a trauma, just dramatic day that I don't even think... The only thing I was in on day one was our neighborhood group, because that's where Katie had first commented about him being gone. So no, actually I wasn't in any Facebook groups day one. It was such a crazy moment. So probably, yeah, when you say Katie commented, what do you mean by that? She joined a neighborhood group? Well, so I'm an admin of our private neighborhood group, and she created a post, I want to say around...
I'm either cussing at emails or wanting to get away from... Yes. Yeah, that's me. That's me, Michelle.
I would say 7:30 maybe-ish. 7:30 that morning, Monday morning. Simply just saying, my son is missing. And kind of commented on a little bit about him. Like, I think she made the comment about how tall he was, and that he was autistic and he was missing. Please check your cameras. It was just like a two-liner, just real quick, shooting it out there. So like maybe like an hour and a half, hour something after she and Chris that we found out that they called and reported Sebastian missing. Correct. It was, yes, because I think that from what I understood, she called around 6:30 that morning, I think. Was it about 6:30, I think is? Yeah. Okay. So yeah, it was, and I think from what another neighbor said, that she actually caught her SUV leaving the neighborhood right before that, or right after that. And so it was, she did all that and then came back, and then I guess that's when she put it on the Facebook page. But I also remember what I thought was very odd was shortly before that, another neighbor, so their house is here, if you're going up Stafford, a little bit farther up Stafford, was actually the first one to ask, hey, what's all going on in the neighborhood? Because my oldest son left to go to work that morning approximately 8 o'clock, and there was already police all up and down Stafford, like just covering it. And they were already out walking around and stuff. And so I don't know, I guess she saw some of that traffic as she was leaving to go to work, and she posted first on the Facebook page. And then Katie, after that, is when she posted, and I went back to find that, and that previous neighbor deleted her post. What about Katie's? I don't know. No, the original post, the first post. Yeah. It's no longer there. It's gone. She had to have deleted it because you can't, if you're not the creator of the post, you can't delete someone else's post. They have to delete it. But when I went back a couple weeks after everything happened and things kind of calmed down a little bit, I was talking to somebody else, and I was like, I remember didn't such and such make the post first, and this is a neighbor down the street from me, and she said, yeah, I remember that. And I was like, I wonder what the time frame was different. And I went back to look, and it was gone. So the original neighbor that very first posted asking what was all the commotion going on And I still wonder if that's why Katie posted that. But then Chris, it was like 2 or 3 neighbors after. So Katie posted her comment or her post, and then several people commented after. I didn't see anything. She was asking, like, everybody check their cameras. I didn't see anything. And then Chris posted underneath that and said,
I know, Michelle. Fishy popped in Mob Crew's Chris's live the other night. They know they're being watched by either Chris or Katie or SF or Stephen Crabtree Crackhead. Right? It's like when I get quite a few in here, and sometimes they're not in the chat, I'm thinking, have I got any from the other side, from the dark side? So, yeah, they want to know what we know. And that's why I like a lot of psychics and mystics, right? They're very careful in what they're saying now as well. As in location-wise. Because they know they are being watched. And they don't want them knowing anything about the possible location in case they are right and they go and move in. No, we haven't. We haven't heard of them for a while, have we? Tell you why. I'll tell you why. Because Clue got her channel took off her. Right? So he can't go on Clues no more. And that was one of the main channels he used to go on a lot. Was Clues.
said something like, yeah, my son's missing. That was it.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Did it say, like, where the post was originating from, or was Chris around the neighborhood by then? Okay, so I have twins, and when we first heard about everything, they jumped up and went running out of the house and went across the street down to where they live, and they walked over because they wanted to be a part of helping, look for him. And
I don't know why she had to say, I've got twins. She could have just said, I've got 2 lads, or I've got a son and a daughter who both went, or I've got 2 daughters who went and helped. You know what I mean? She doesn't. She says, I have twins. Why? We don't need to know that. So.
And they weren't over there, and Chris was not there yet. So Seth was in there 8:30. 8:30, okay. 8:20-ish. Yeah, because my oldest son had already left for work. He left about 8. Then my twins went. I got the phone call from the neighbor very nearby them that is a good friend of mine about 8:15, 8:20 that morning, asking if I had heard what would happen, and I had not yet because I hadn't gotten going for the day yet. And then when my son texted me, I didn't answer, so he called my other boy's phone and asked them, hey, do y'all see what's going on? And they came right in my room and said, hey, Mom, did you hear what happened? I was like, wait, what? What's going on? My phone's ringing. You guys are running in here. Like, what is happening here? And my neighbor was on the phone calling me. And so as soon as I heard the neighbor tell me the story of what happened, they went running out the door and went over there to kind of help, with the search and stuff. And they said that they saw Seth and Katie in the front yard and of course they didn't know the names back then. They just knew, like, now that they've seen pictures, they go back and say, yeah, it was Seth and Katie and Kathy Bauer Socks and a bunch of other police, law enforcement and stuff like that. But Chris was not there yet. Interesting. Well, he wasn't there then. Now, where do you live relative to the Proudsons? I live at the very top of the hill on Kellen. So the next street, the street that turns into Stafford. The main street. Main street coming in. So just basically what you're... Now, going back to Katie, like, what...
I think it's her. It's Bobby who Mob Crew has had the video footage from as well. You know, from the back view of the house, where you look over towards the cemetery, and you can also look down to the main road. I think it's her house, either hers or the neighbour's next door house, where he's got that footage from.
You know, or what you heard. When was Katie driving around in her SUV? Like a time frame? Like when do you think she was driving around in her SUV? Looking for action, like she claims. Right. So there's so many different things here because the neighbor that I actually spoke with, that I'm friends with, she's the one that has the camera on the corner of Stafford and Kellen, and I'm not going to mention her name, but she's the one that the camera footage got leaked without her knowledge and her permission that everybody has seen. But I've directly spoken with her, and then I also have directly spoken with a couple other neighbors that live very close to the Prophet's house. And the neighbor that I spoke with the very first time that morning, she said that when she was taking her kids to school, Katie was already back from looking. She had just got back from looking, and the kids have to be in school at 7:30, and so she normally leaves the house at 7 to take her kids to school. But Katie was already back and in the front yard, and all the cops and stuff were there, so she stopped for a minute to talk to her, took her to school. My neighbor that had the camera footage told me that her timeline is not working correctly, but when she puts it all together with the sunrise and then the bus coming through and all of that, she said it was approximately about 6 o'clock, 6:15, 6:20. It was right in between supposedly when she discovered him missing. Supposedly she gets up, she runs around the house, she gets dressed, and she drives out of the neighborhood and that kind of thing and goes looking for him.
If you've got a missing child and you're going to jump in a car to go for a drive round, would you even think of getting dressed? I know that time when my son was took ill, right, I'd already got into my PJs and my snoozy and my slippers, right, because I knew I weren't going out again that night, that day. And when I got that phone call off of them about my son, I didn't say, I'll be over there in a few minutes, I've just got to get dressed. No. Pick my phone, have my phone in the hand, turned off my dinner that I was cooking, grabbed my keys, left. Right? So, would you get dressed if it was yours? I know I'd be, if it was my son, my daughter, my grandsons, or my granddaughter, I'd be running around feck all if need be, if it meant that. But I'd have my PJs on or something, running up and down, just going door knocking. Or jumping in the car to drive round. Voice goes, bless them, know how so much about they're going on. Yeah. Yeah, you go in your PJs. She's trying not to upset anyone. Right? And I think the reason she went on one of the other channels and said what she was saying, and I was spitting teeth when I heard it. I can't remember if it was Clues or Queen Bees. I'll see if I can find it. I won't be able to find it if it's on Clues because her channel's been took down. Right, but normally if Queen Bee is on Clues channel, she's streaming it live also on her channel. So she may have it on her channel. So I'll have a look for that one. And it's the same as that Yarda, when she had that interview with Paul Humbetty. That was a really good interview. She went on the dark side and she was saying, oh, I felt coerced into saying what I said. And you listen to that interview that full-on Betty did with her, and it was a brilliant interview. And as I said, you're not coerced into saying anything. You could say, I don't want to talk about that. Please don't ask me any questions on that subject again. I don't want to talk about that. Okay. Right, but when any of these YouTubers have interviews with people like the Neighbour or whatever, they all speak to them beforehand to get a lay of the background. So now say, well, we'll be asking about this or this and this and this. So they know what they're going to be talking about. So when they go on these other channels like, oh, I was coerced, they misrepresented me. No, they didn't.
But I know the neighbor if you're looking at the prophet's house on the left, when she went running out of her house hysterical, the neighbor next to her was already out. You know, of course, everybody's getting up, getting ready for work, getting kids ready for school. Bus comes 6:50-ish. 6:50. It's been a long time since my kids have ridden the bus, so I'll have to really think about that one. But it's definitely before 7 because the kids have to be in school in class by 7:30. And we're the last pick up before he actually goes to school because we're right next to the school. So, you know, everybody was getting up and getting ready for work and everything. So she actually saw her out and she asked her what was going on. She told her. And so she actually walked around the house and was helping her look around the house. So she was already back from looking around 7.
Interesting. When she left to go look for Sebastian, I know that if you turn right going out of the Prophet, you go up the top of the hill, it's a cul-de-sac, or you go around and you can go up your street all the way at the back where the construction is. Did she, before she ventured out of the neighborhood, did she go up those roads? Do you know of to look?
Did she go up my road?
Your road or her road itself to the top of the cul-de-sac? You know, where
the only thing I was... Right. So the only thing I was told, of course, nobody in my house was up or out yet, so I can't verify that because we weren't out yet. But the neighbor that told me that she saw her SUV drive across her driveway saw her leave. So that's right.
That's interesting. So maybe stay in the neighborhood a little bit and go up and down your own streets. Look at
That was when she went to the school, thinking that he had walked to the school on his own, which I don't know why. He's never done that before. So why would he do that? And like, why would he just walk to school by himself? Plus, he had no shoes on, supposedly. So, like, why would he walk to school by himself? So, but that's what I was told, that she actually walked around her house outside, didn't find him, so she got in her car and drove to the school.
It was back by 7. Around that time.
At least actually before that.
Yeah. Does Sebastian, did he take the bus to school, or did Katie take him in her car?
From what the neighbors, of course I don't have kids that ride the bus anymore, but from what the neighbor nearby said, that he did ride the bus. Now, the neighbor on the corner that has a surveillance camera said that there is a special bus that comes for certain kids that have special needs and whatever, and she said, I don't think he gets on that bus. I think he gets on the other bus. So that was what I was told. I can't verify that, so I can't answer that appropriately.
Got you. So we're talking all law enforcement, all there, starting to descend onto the area, 8 a.m.-ish, right? 8 a.m.-ish.
Whatever, they were there before that. They were already there, and cars parked. By the time when my son went to work at 8, they were already there and already got clumped up together and starting to talk because they were already in the front yard talking to them. So they were, I don't know I mean, I would say probably it was even before. I mean, they were probably there. I'm trying to remember what she said when she got ready to leave. She never said anything. The neighbor that called me and told me about it never mentioned law enforcement being there. She just said that Katie was outside walking around, upset and everything, and she asked her, like, what's going on? But she didn't specify if there were law enforcement there. But they were already there and out of their cars and in the front yard at 8 o'clock, so they had to have been there before that.
Gotcha. Any idea when Seth got there?
No, but I do know that he was there by the time my kids went over there, like I said, which was about 8:30. He was already there. And I also know that his truck was there, like, off and on the whole time.
Gotcha.
I don't know what time exactly.
So what happens to, just explain to everybody then, what did law enforcement do at that point, like throughout the morning, once they all arrived there? Did more and more law enforcement come, or was this?
I told my neighbor down the street, I said, I didn't even know we had these agencies. I mean, like, I've never in my life ever seen such a response. It was overwhelming. It was like, it kind of freaked me out. Like, oh my God, I feel like I'm living in a real life, like, drama crime scene. It was the craziest thing I've ever seen. The very first that came out was the sheriff's department, because we live in a county. So sheriff's department respond first because, we're not part of the city. So they came out first, and they literally walked all up and down and around and everything. And then they came door to door and asked everybody, who all had cameras and whatnot. What did you see? What do you know? Whatever. And then it was, now of course I'm having to really go back in my head. It's been a little while. It was later on that afternoon, they brought some dogs in, and they started walking around. They came around the houses and asked everybody to walk around their own property, look underneath stuff, and anything that's unlocked. So all of us up and down my street, everybody, my neighbors came out with me. She and I walked together, walked all up and down our yards, all across the street, up and through the cul-de-sac, down the street a little bit. There's a barbed wire fence behind us as of right now where the new construction is, so you can't get over that, but we can walk around it. And so we both walked up and around that, just looked everywhere that was kind of close by, and then I noticed that they had the drones up. And of course the news was that was Tuesday. The news came out and was flying the helicopter around. It was chaotic. It was absolutely chaotic.
Did you see Seth and Katie out there looking? Yeah.
Not in our neighborhood. Never.
Never seen them walk around?
No. They were in their yard out, but never left their property. No. And I know for a fact because, so Monday my kids were out with law enforcement, because at that point it was, we need all the neighbors come out, help us, look everywhere, whatever. So they were open to everybody coming out and help. So at that point, my kids jumped into one of those razor things and drove all up and through the property and stuff. And then my other one walked with the canine unit in the construction zone. He walked all the way through that. They literally, I had to call him one point in time and tell him, y'all need to come home and have lunch. I mean, this is crazy. I know you want to help, but you got to come home and eat. And so then they came home, they ate, and then they went back out there, and they were out there with them all day Monday, all day Tuesday. And then, so Tuesday we had SWAT. That was the day we had the vigil. And it was interesting.
Why would SWAT be there? Isn't SWAT like an armed police? The USA's version of the armed police. Because that's when people go, they say someone got swatted tonight because the SWAT team, the armed police, turned up at their home or something. So why would SWAT be there? That caught my attention as well, and I thought, why would they be there? So I think she may have got that wrong a bit because I can't see SWAT being a missing child's case. They only turn up if there's a madman running loose with a gun or shooting through a school and things like that. They turn up for things like that, not for a missing child. So,
Interesting because we put out a post on the neighborhood group that we're having a vigil, and everybody's invited, but we want it to be just the neighborhood only because we want it to be a private vigil just for our neighborhood and for the family. We were hoping if we made it more personal like that the family would come and they would be overwhelmed with all this. That was the other thing. Good God, the traffic. The second that it got out, we had tons of people just driving up and down the street, just looking and watching. I'm like, I don't know what you're going to do to help. We're flooded already with, police. I don't know what outsiders come in are going to do. I mean, it was chaotic as it was anyway, and now you got all these extra people coming out there, so it just got so chaotic. But so Tuesday night we planned the vigil. Went down there, got in a big circle, introducing everybody, and there's neighbors. I don't want to get too personal here. There are neighbors. Actually, we have I think 2, maybe 3 sets of neighbors that are in law enforcement. They're in different counties. One of them is actually a part of Hendersonville Police, and then the other 2 are from other counties. They came to the vigil. As a matter of fact, the one that is part of Hendersonville has been in a neighborhood since almost the beginning. Know them very well, good people. And he was down there with a flashlight because we had so many people driving up and down and around, and circling and going up and down and circling and coming back and forth. They were just a good grief. The prophet sent, I don't know who it was, but they came down and we were all introducing ourselves, and they introduced themselves as aunt and uncle. Don't have a aunt and uncle prophets. Apparently, I don't know if it was somebody's brother, or that's what they introduced themselves as. We are, maybe it was Sebastian's aunt and uncle. Chris and Katie said they were their aunt and uncle. Well, it wasn't. Chris and Katie didn't come. They sent family members, and when they introduced themselves as we're aunts and uncles. Why I guess Sebastian's aunt and uncle? Why did Seth go? No. So no Seth, no prophets. They basically sent their own representatives, family members that claim that rain. That's correct. Yes. I got 2 questions back on the first day. When do you know that Chris arrived home? I did not, because I didn't know. I had never met them. They moved in and nobody knew them. Like, I still don't know anybody that really knows them. Like, nobody ever really knew them. And so when did they move in? Do you know? I think, so apparently it was a year and a half ago. Gotcha. Yeah, and they just stayed to themselves, and nobody really even knew them. I didn't even know that the original owners sold their house, and not because we don't, our neighborhood is just a real quiet neighborhood. Everybody kind of stays to themselves, except for, if you need something, or if a dog, a pet gets out, or if somebody goes on vacation, hey, will you watch my house, that kind of thing. But we don't really, unfortunately, I think everybody's just had busy lives and stuff, and we just don't know. I mean, like, each neighbor knows the neighbor next to them. Like, I know all the neighbors around me, and I know a lot of the original neighbors that were there from day one, but I don't know the ones that have moved in over the past 5 years. And I think with COVID, that kind of messed everything up too. Gotcha. Somebody put in the chat, what time does the trash get picked up in the morning? That is the biggest misconception. Here we go with the whole light thing, right? This is where we're going. So, one more thing first.
very first day, the dogs. You saw dogs out there.
Oh, yes, absolutely.
Going a specific direction or area? Did you see them centered around a certain area, or did they pick up any scent?
Okay, so there was no scent that was picked up from their house to anywhere. However, and my kids were with.
Right? Now you heard it here, and you've heard it on other channels. There was no scent of Sebastian picked up from the house up to the construction site. No scent. Right? So whose scent did they have? And yet Chris has said there was 3 dogs that hit. And Nancy Grace pulled it up, and she believes the law enforcement over anyone else. Right? She said that the EMS, or whatever they're calling, the one who's in charge of all the search parties and everything, he said there was no scent of a dog that the dogs had picked up of Sebastian. No scent. Everyone else said no scent was picked up from that house of Sebastian. But Chris is adamant, and he'll keep saying it, that there was a scent picked up from the house. There's 3 dogs that picked up a scent and led up to the construction site. Yes, there might have been 3 dogs that picked a scent up, but they go on scent. I'm not sure those all scent dogs either. I think one maybe being a tracking dog, and they go on how the land is being, like, when you're walking on grass and you leave the grass is flattened and things like that. They go on things like that. They go on the trail, and the scent dogs will go on the strongest scent they can. Right? Now, if they picked up a scent of someone else, that's the scent they will follow. And if that scent was KPs or CPs, which I believe it may have been CPs, right? Because of the fact he knows how deep that pond was. I believe he was in that pond, in my opinion, allegedly, right? Because how would he know it was only knee deep high? And then it was his scent that came from that pond to the house. Do you remember what that one psychic said? How Sebastian was showing her white socks, muddy boots. Yeah? Whoever he was showing was, they had muddy boots. When they got to the house, they took the boots off. And then there was in the white socks. So whoever come to that house, someone come to that house on the night time, on a Sunday evening, come through the construction site, for some reason went in that retention pond, right? They made their way over to the house, and they came in the back way. Extend it over off property to vehicle if you believe he was picked up. Yeah, there'll be no scent as long as the feet don't touch the ground or any part of his body. Like, even if his hand dragged along the floor, right, you get a scent. So as long as no part of his body touched the ground, you wouldn't have a scent. You'd have the scent of that person carrying that person. The tracking would be heavier as well, because they'd be carrying a weight, like they've got a heavy weight, so they're carrying that, so that the weight would be heavier. So the footsteps would be, the tracking would be more indented, sort of thing, if you know what I'm trying to say. But all dogs go on the strongest scent and the strongest track. So, say I walked across a field barefoot, right? And then my son walked behind me in my footsteps, but then went off another direction. And then his wife followed him in his footsteps, but then went off in a different direction. You're going to have 3 dogs pick up a scent. That one dog is going to pick up that one scent, which is the strongest, which would be my daughter-in-law's, because that would be the top scent. And then they will follow that scent. A tracking dog follows how grass or whatever lies, right? And that's how they follow the strongest. But if leaves no scent of either person, you can stand in control area or lift your attracting ground while you're running. Possible. But I don't, as I said last night when we was listening to Chris from the Mob Crew, he believes KP came out the front door. I don't. I believe she come from under the crawl space. Right? And my reason for that is because if she come out the front door, 2 houses opposite, both got ring doorbells. You can see it on Google Earth Maps. You can do it. You'll see the ring bells on the door. Both of them would catch something coming out of that door. Nothing. Chris said himself, if anyone came up to their door, you wouldn't see who it was, but you'd see like a shadow of someone. And why was their porch light not on that night? Why was her house in total darkness come, 11:30 at night? And who was that shadowy person in the window? Did you forget? Have you forgot about that person that is seen on the ring doorbell? That dining area where the table is. Someone on the ring doorbell, someone said you can see someone standing in the window. And it was about 11:30 at night. So was they looking for someone? But then again, if you've seen that shadow in that window, then you're going to see a shadow at the door, aren't you? You're going to see someone on the outside of the house. So,
the handler and the canine and actually watched. He followed them all through the construction zone. And one of my kids actually saw one of the dogs take the handler to one of the retention ponds. And not only did he go to the retention pond, he ran to it and jumped in it. And the handler had to go and get him and take him out of the water and then dry him off. And my son looked over the handler and said, "Oh my gosh, I've never seen anything like that before." He looked at me and said, "He's never done that before." And my son said, "Why did he just jump in that?" He said he was following a scent. And then the other...
Doing that? Did they go in the water? Did they take scuba divers or anything in there?
Supposedly, when I told Seth that when I met him at the most recent vigil, he said they drained the pond twice and nothing. But not only did I see that, but when on day 3, I think it was Wednesday, when National Guard came through and they had their dogs. Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
I didn't know that.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. They were all up and down Dillon neighborhood. That's why when everybody said, the police aren't doing enough, I have some of my own personal thoughts about that, but I will tell you right now, we had the Sumner County Sheriff's Office, we had Hendersonville Police, we had state troopers, we had National Guard, we had drones, we had helicopters, we had canines, we had 2 sets of different canines, and the National Guard brought theirs. So we were flooded. Okay, so back to the whole dog.
Let's do the trash, because the trash is what everyone is like curious about. The time the trash picks up, and then in reference to the lights, we're going to talk about the 3 a.m., 3:10 a.m. lights. Let's talk about the trash. What do you think?
So our trash gets picked up by J.E. McMurtry Disposal. Has for many, many, many years. They used to, a few years back, they would pick up around 6:30-ish, but then the bus was coming through, and it was making it hard for them to come through with the bus, and all the kids were out, and it was just chaotic. So they switched it, and now they go down my street about 5:30, 5-ish, between 5:15-ish, 5:20, something like that, every Monday morning. That's going down my hill, though. That's not when they come in and they're going around it. That's when they're coming back down. So, yeah.
I mean, that's an extra, 20 minutes? How long does it take for the trash truck guy to go through the whole entire day?
And the other misconception is a lot of people are saying that they have to hand dump the trash bin in there. They don't. It's a new truck. They have an arm, and it does it for them. So that was another thing where they're having to pick up these big. No, they're not. They have an arm. They roll it over to the arm, connect it to the arm, and they dump it. You can hear it. I mean, it's not quiet. It's loud. I mean, you hear the arm doing all that. So by the time they collect the trash coming up the street, though, not going down it. They're collecting it as they come up. So I guess they're probably in the neighborhood just like around 5, just before 5.
And they're out of there before the buses come.
Yes.
Or the bus comes, or the,
Absolutely.
you said buses. Where's trash go?
Oh, it gets dumped in either Nashville or Gallatin. If Nashville is full, they'll temporarily dump it to Gallatin. And then once, I guess, Nashville gets in it, whatever, then they'll transport to Nashville. The big misconception was that the neighborhood behind us, they get picked up by a different company on Tuesdays. So that's a whole different thing.
Is that construction development you're talking about?
Well, that was the dumpster that everybody was asking about. How is it possible that, that the dog hit over there as well? The second dog that was out walking hit also by the trash dumpster. And the trash dumpster owner found that out when law enforcement told him that we got a hit by the dumpster. The owner of the dumpster called them back and said, okay, we dumped our trash on this certain day, Tuesday, whatever, on that certain day in Kentucky. So you guys need to go and get a warrant, obviously. And he gave them permission to go search the Kentucky dumpster or landfill. So that's why they went to Kentucky. And then I was told that they also checked Gallatin and Nashville as well.
That night, Katie claims the night of the 25th that Sebastian takes the trash out after.
Yeah, I did say that very faint light coming from Katie's bedroom. That could have been coming from an ensuite, because they've got the bathroom there. Or it could have been coming from the hallway, the passageway between the kitchen and her bedroom, that little passageway there. Right? And the same as that light that's in what we see in the sunroom. The room which leads you into the porch area, the back porch. I don't believe the light is on in there in the sunroom, because if the light was on in the sunroom, then it would light up the porch area, the back porch. So because it doesn't light up the back porch, I think it's the kitchen light that we're seeing coming through. And because the shutters are up on the one window, you're seeing a lot more light come through that way. I think the shutters are up down on the other 2 or 3 windows. And I think on that one end window, the one near is the back porch, the shutters are open, so you're getting more light come through. So, but I don't know about the front door, because of what Chris said. It's that thing Chris said. He said if anyone had come up to the front door, you'd see a shadow. You wouldn't know who it was. You'd see a shadow, right, on them ring doorbells. So if anyone was to come out of that door And believe it or not, you could open your front door up, right? You may not have a light on in your house. Your house could be pitch black, right? But when you open your front door, you can see the door open. There's like this very faint light. Very faint light. From the house to the outside. It's just very, very faint. So you can see when the door is opened. And when something moves between the doors. So you would see a shadow by the door. Chris has said it himself. Ring bell. She didn't have a ring bell. But the neighbours did across the road.
They were arrived home from going out to dinner. Go ahead.
There's no specific footage of that. The neighbor that has the Ring door camera that saw that, she said to me on the phone that the only thing you can see is a silhouette. She said you cannot see a physical person. There is absolutely no physical proof of Sebastian being at their house that night after dinner. There's nothing. There's her car coming home. My neighbor did tell me that she saw her car come, but she parks in the garage, so nobody saw him get out of the car.
What time was that? I always want to know what time she arrived home.
I asked, and she said that it was so dark that she couldn't really see. She saw it about 6 or so, I think is what she said, ish, because they went to dinner in Texas, and then supposedly came home, and then her car came into the driveway around 6, and then somebody pulled the trash bin out, after that. But she said they don't know who it was because you can't tell.
So no evidence. Any neighbor, including yourself or anything, because the neighbors talked to everybody and said there's nothing to indicate that he was home that night. He got home.
There's no proof of that. Nobody ever saw him come home, or really, I mean, I don't even know if anybody can say they saw him leave with her. I mean, I don't think anybody actually looked back that far. It was so chaotic at the very beginning. I think the police were so focused on a runaway teen that was what everybody was focused on. So when they first asked to look at their video cameras, I think everybody was checking him walking out. But there's no proof of him physically walking out. And then it was, okay, are there any cars around there? And so going back to the whole light thing, I was told that there was an unidentified car sitting on my street.
She's just said it there. The neighbours have said there's no sign of Sebastian leaving that house. No sign of anyone coming out of that house. So if she'd come out the front way, there would be you'd see some sort of movement, be it all black or not, you'd see some sort of movement. Right? So that's why I believe I stick to my guns. But on the way back, I think she did come in the back way. But don't forget, she's got to climb over that fence. Because there is no gate on that side of the garden. The gate is on the driveway side. So she's had to climb over that fence. Now that's probably why she had the torchlight on. Because she needed to see what she was doing. Boom. That's that light in that picture of her once she's climbed the fence, got over the fence. Yep. Oh yeah, they've got the training all right.
Entrance, somewhere around 3:30 or so, and then the flashlights were actually seen on the neighbor's camera.
Hold on.
Separate flashlights walking in between the yards, which the trash truck does not do. They don't need to. All of the trash is at the curb. They have never, ever gone. Matter of fact, when you sign up for services, they tell you in the email the rules and regulations. If your trash is not on the curb, they don't take it. Unless, you're an elderly person, you ask them. If your trash is like in the front of your house and you ask them, they'll come and get it like that. But they won't come around the back or in between houses. That's bull malarkey. That is not how that works.
I don't have to get my trash men to take my bins down. I'll just say to my son, come and get my bin and put it down for me. And he has been known where he's come home, where he's gone to work and he's put the bin out for us and things like that. So it has been known where he has put the bin out for me. And I've gone out to put the bin out and I went, who's put my fucking bin out? And then I go to my friend, I say, did you put the bin out? No. She said, I was just thinking of doing that now. I said, well, it's already out. I said, it must have been Simon. So, yeah, my son would put it out for me. If ever I was in a position, like, too decrepit to get my bin down the little ramp because it's too icy, then he'd come and do it.
No, Tribe, you don't believe that those 3:10 a.m. lights were around 3:10 after 3 a.m. were trash truck lights.
Not only do I not believe it, but the neighbor that has the actual footage swore up and down that there are two different circumstances. There was the car with the lights coming towards the car backed up on Kelly and left, and then about 2-ish hour and a half, hour 42 something, like she said, the time stamp on the video is not working. It is stuck. She said, but you can tell because it's pitch black dark in the middle of the night when the car comes down the street, turns onto Stafford, sits there for about 3 to 5 minutes. The flashlights are coming from two different directions in between the yards. They do whatever they're doing around the car. The car backs up Kellen and leaves from Stafford. I'm sorry, backs up Kellen and leaves. And then 2 or so hours later, as the sun is just beginning to come up, you can see the trash truck. And she said, but the trash truck goes past her driveway. She said, you can see the trash truck and the lights and the back of the truck go past her driveway, go up the hill, do its business, turn around, come back down. And then within a few minutes later, the sun is coming up. And then you can see Katie's car leave, Katie's car coming back. And then you can see all the police come in. She said, it's very obvious. So I asked her why the police are saying that that's a trash truck. And she said, I don't know. I'm baffled. Because I tell you right now, there are two different circumstances, and that you can tell there are two different time frames.
Wow, because we've heard from Seth Rogers, and Seth is adamant that he was told, or he's seen.
That's because LE has told him that.
What's up with that?
Because LE has told him that. Law enforcement has told him that.
Why?
That's the question I asked. When I called, I got I think all of us are just super frustrated as this continues to go on, that we don't understand what's happened. We don't know what's happened. You know, we've all been involved in trying to find him day one. We've spread it. We've shared it on social media. You know, a lot of us were out with law enforcement the first week or so, looking for him and stuff. I mean, this shook us up to the core. It flipped our neighborhood upside down and just shook us up. I mean, nobody left their house for 2 weeks. Even the families who walk their dogs every single day, we didn't see them for 2 weeks. So, yeah, I mean, we didn't know what was going on. We had no idea what happened. I mean, when you got a 15-year-old kid that just vanishes in thin air, nobody wants to leave. We're scared. And then, of course, you see Chris, getting upset through all these YouTube videos. And if you know your neighbor is that upset and threatening people and saying the things he's saying, you're not going to go be a part of that. You're going to stay in your little cocoon and stay away from them. And, I mean, lock your doors and be by yourself and protect yourself and just stay away from it.
Never seen Sebastian Rogers in the neighborhood or walking around or anything prior to that day? Nothing.
From what I understand from neighbors that live right close to him, the only time they ever saw him come out was when he was playing with dogs. The dogs would get out, and he'd be out there for a little while, but nobody ever really knew him.
Nobody knew any of him.
He never came out to play with the neighborhood kids. You never saw him out riding his bike. I mean, now I'll tell you this. I mean, we have neighbors that go out, like I said, and walk their dogs every single day, sometimes even twice a day. You have kids that will go out and play basketball. We have a basketball goal in one of the cul-de-sacs. Kids will come out and play basketball and basketball goal. They'll walk, ride their bike. We have one kid that has a four-wheeler and a dirt bike, and he rides around, that kind of thing. Didn't even know Sebastian existed. Never had anybody.
No friends, nothing.
Never had any friends over their house.
How long was this? I heard that Seth was there for a few days staying with the Proudfoots. Did you hear that?
I did. Well, I saw his. Yeah. Well, I didn't know he was staying in their house, but I saw his truck there every single day for. When I heard that he had stayed in their house for 3 days, I was shocked. I didn't realize he had actually stayed in the house and then they said 3 days. I was like, well, that's odd because his truck was parked on the curb of the street for about a week. But I didn't know he was actually there because he was out searching. Like, he was actually at the command center for the first week every day, all day long.
Was.
Seth was.
Not Chris and Kate. Chris and Kate?
Oh, no. No. No, he never left their house.
Never. Never. But any flyers, going door to door, you know, to speak with neighbors, ask them if they've seen anything? Nothing.
No.
Wow. Nope. So, Miss Bobby. So, do you...
And the only...
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, the only thing they even put on Facebook was that one post.
Which eventually got deleted.
Theirs didn't. The original neighbor that was asking, hey, what's all the commotion on Stafford, that person deleted their post. Katie's is still up there.
Were the Bauer stocks around? During that week? Yeah, I know you said that they were there that morning. Did they come around? Did they look around?
No, we never saw anybody. None of them ever looked in our neighborhood where I'm at. I've never seen any of them walking around at all, period, ever. Seth, Chris, Katie, Bauer stocks, none of them ever. I never even met them. I had one encounter with Chris one night, and after, no, never saw him, never met him, nothing.
The Chris encounter, you mind sharing? I think we talked about this offline a little bit.
Yes. Okay, so I'll kind of share a little bit of that. This was what day was it? Thursday, I think it was. I think it was Thursday. That Thursday night. Now, mind you, our neighborhood is on pins and needles. Don't know what happened to this kid. Don't understand. Law enforcement's, coming up and around. We've got every department that I didn't even know existed. Like I said, I didn't know we had a SWAT team. I didn't know we had, drone footage. I didn't know we had any of this stuff. I mean, we're, a small county. I had no idea. Not a small county, big on me. Like, we're away from, like, the big crowd, the city. Never had any issues, so I didn't even know that any of this stuff existed. So we were all kind of on pins and needles, and so anything weird, let me go back a little bit and say, the night before this is the reason why this happened. The night before this, I had went to work that night, I think. I did something. I wasn't home for some reason. My son was on our back deck. Now, our back deck faces the construction, the back of the construction. And so he was on the back deck talking to somebody, and he looks out and he says, well, that's really weird. And she said, what? And he said, look at the lights out there. And there was a flashlight. It was kind of a dim flashlight, but you could see it because it's pitch black dark. And he said, why is there a flashlight over there? It was one single flashlight, and it was like walking in the back, kind of over in the back of the woods area, and it like walked around, stopped, walked around a little bit, stopped, and then just disappeared in the back woods. And so he called me, and he's like, what do I do? And I said, you need to call law enforcement. Like, call the number. We had a flyer, one of the flyers. And I was like, you need to call the TBI and tell them and figure out what to do with that. He did. And nothing. No phone call back, no nothing. Just, okay, thanks for the letter. I'm like, okay, that's awfully weird. I mean, you would think that they would come check that out or call you back and ask you,
follow-ups.
Nothing. No, they didn't even call him back to ask him, like, exactly where are you? What did you see? Nothing. Nobody ever followed up or nothing. And so he was like, that's really weird. I was like, yeah, that is weird. I mean, with the missing kid, you would think they would be coming flying up here to figure out who that was. So it was the following night. So now, of course, we're all like, even more intense. And it was like, is people just going to just start walking around neighborhoods in the middle of the night like they were pitch black dark in the night? And so he was coming home. We were all at home and still looking around and talking to neighbors and figuring out, like, what the heck is going on. And he comes home and walks in the door and is like, Mom, I don't know what to do. And I'm like, now what? And he said, there's two people, a real tall, skinny guy and a real small, it looks like a girl maybe, that is walking up our street. Now, we do have families that will come out and walk their dogs at night before they go to bed, but they had no dog with them, no nothing. And the strangest part about this was this guy was wearing dark, black, wide, like ski goggles. You've been in my neighborhood. You can't see your hand in front of your face. It is so dark at night. It was 9 o'clock at night. Why is somebody walking with these big black goggles? How can they even see? Well, with everything going on, I'm thinking, okay, that's very suspicious. I didn't check on that. Yes, I could have called law enforcement, and that's what was said. You should have called law enforcement. However, I didn't want to call law enforcement on my own neighbor. If it was a neighbor out walking around, I didn't want to be rude and call law enforcement on my neighbor. So,
not just custody, no house, no visiting. He's not going to get custody, right, while there's a missing child in their family. Investigation going on. It's not. But he can get visiting rights. Right? And that's what he got. He got visiting rights. And Nina said it in that interview. right? She couldn't understand, like when you phoned her, she thought it was just trying to a delay tactic for this court hearing they had on the 5th of March. And she said, "But you have cameras in your house, don't you?" She's obviously seen them cameras in the house when she's being on video calls with her daughter while her daughter's been there. Or her daughter's been pointing them out to him. "Look, Mum, there's a camera in my bedroom and a camera in there." You know what I mean? So she knew. Plus, she knows he has cameras in the house because she was married to the guy who would have cameras in the house where she was. So he could keep track of her. So that, to me, is weird. And the fact that even in this interview it mentions about the cameras, and this neighbour phoned her up, like, said they had no cameras at all outside the house. And then the neighbour phoned up and said, "Guess what? They're having cameras put in now." This was after Sebastian went missing, possibly because they're worried about the threats towards her life. There was for the first week, right, no one went round their house for the first week because law enforcement and everything was there. So up until the following Monday, no one went round by their house, right? She says we had people driving up and down constantly. Not the first week, young love, because police would have been there and the police would have said, "You need to get out the area." You know what I mean? So, and I know for a fact there's no YouTubers around that house. News reporters, yes. No YouTubers. Because there was only a handful of people that, well, it was me, Trev Time, oh God, that other PI, Chloe, she was talking about it. Maybe 2 other YouTubers talking about this case for the first week. It wasn't until after little Maggie Soto was found on the Friday, right, that other YouTubers picked up on this case, unlike on the Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So I don't know where they was coming about with threats to them within the first week because no one went round by their house. No one knew where their house was until Nick Berris released it. So that about having threats to them within the first week, BS, right? And as for threats later on, that wasn't YouTubers. That was just people finding them, finding an address, finding a phone number, finding an email, emailing them, messaging them on Facebook or phoning them. It wasn't YouTubers. The true proper crime channels, YouTubers, don't do that. They don't do that. So when Buller and Betty was going around, which I can understand, she says something about the posters, the flyers. Why do we need flyers in our area? We know there's a missing child. You know what I mean? We know what it looks like. We're living it. We don't need posters in this area. So I can understand you saying that and Buller and Betty going around and putting flyers up everywhere. But up by the school and round by the shops and all that lot where they went, yeah, put flyers up there because there was a lot of people who didn't know about Sebastian going missing. Put them in other areas of Hendersonville. You know what I mean? But they didn't need to have flyers all along Kelly Lane and Stafford Court and whatever because they were living it. They knew about this young boy being missing. They didn't need to see the flyers on every post. What's being said? What's being said? Nina said he didn't say anything. She said the dogs bark because they always bark when she's on the call with her daughter. And they all had Life 360. He said the whole family had it, allegedly. On the other hand, I think the dogs weren't used to CP and barked a lot when he was around. That's why KP had to put them up when CP was around. I think the dogs, you know how dogs get an intuition about people? Yeah? Animals pick up on people. Right? I think those dogs did not like him. It could have been his tone of his voice, his loudness, maybe, anything. But I don't think those dogs liked him. So, yeah, whole thing, family was sitting as like hawk. Yep, strange family. Let's continue. Wow. This might have to be a two-parter.
I told my son, I said, you know what, let's go. He's got a Jeep that's got a bunch of lights on it. And I said, let's drive down there and turn your lights on and see. If you can see somebody out there walking, I said, I'll call law enforcement and let them know what we're seeing, and then we'll just try and go back home. I wasn't going to follow them. I just wanted to see if I could find them. So we're driving down my road. We turn Stafford because we couldn't find them. Like, well, maybe they went up Stafford. We went up Stafford. Now my son's Jeep is loud. And so I didn't even think about it. I was more focused on who this person was. So he drives up Stafford, and he says to me, hey, while we're up here, where's Sebastian's house? And I'm like, we just passed it. So he turns around and goes back down, and we're going slowly because I was trying to point out Sebastian's house. And so I pointed it out. He's like, oh, okay. And so we drive back around, and we're driving back down to the other side of the neighborhood, or another cul-de-sac, and he said, wait a minute. Didn't you say that this other neighbor has a Ring camera? And I said, yes. And she's the one that saw the silhouette in the window and the lights in the house go on and off and whatever. She's like, but that doesn't make any sense because if that house is located here, how can she have seen over here? And I'm like, okay, go back up the street, I'll show you. So we went back up the street to show him where that house was versus this and all the whole thing. And as we were coming back up, we kind of stopped. Now, this is my neighborhood. I'm not a suspicious person. This is my neighborhood. I should be able to do whatever I want to, right? So I stop, or he stops a little bit. I'm pointing that house out, and we drive out, and I said, Sean, I said, honey, we got to go home. And he's like, why? And I said, because somebody's standing at their front door. He was like, oh, crap. And I did not, God honest truth, I never meant to upset anybody. It was truly just me trying to figure out what's going on. Never meant to upset anybody. Turn around, Stafford, I'm coming back down, and Chris is, now, mind you, I've never met this man. Never seen him before. I wouldn't even know who he is. Matter of fact, I thought he was law enforcement. Stands in the middle of the street, puts his hand out, and stops, just like this. And I was like, oh my gosh, oh crap. And I'm thinking it's law enforcement. I'm like, oh crap, we're about to get in trouble because they're going to think that we're looking for this kid or something. So I run in the window, and he comes around, and he stands there just like this, just like, what are you doing out here? And I'm like, holy crap. I said, I'm so sorry. We were looking for, and I told him what happened and told him the whole story. And he was like, why would you just call law enforcement? I said, because I don't want to call law enforcement on a neighbor if they're out walking around. That's kind of rude. And he's like, well, you have no business driving around here, and started telling me in a very intimidating, very strong voice, I guess you would say, big tough, he's a big guy, kind of thing. That my son is missing, and they've got police all around here looking. I said, yeah, no kidding, I know, I'm aware. I've been talking to him. Trust me, I know, I get it. And then he said there's a police, the heat sensor mobile unit things, talking about that can detect heat sensor and stuff. Well, they had one of those up in the top, hoping that if he came home, it would alert law enforcement that there was somebody walking around. Which I don't get that, because you've got families that are walking dogs. Anyway, so I was like, I'm so sorry. I kept apologizing to him. He got
Savannah Guthrie's mother, Nancy Guthrie, missing.
Sorry, I've just took it off. Wrong. Oh, God. Go back.
I kept myself, we're all kind of hidden.
Sing it again.
How do you put this behind you and move forward? That's something I ask each missing person family, because I don't understand how you can do that.
I can't. I mean,
Hold on.
you know what?
For some reason, YouTube just went all funny on me. Off.
We're kind of kept myself. We're all kind of hidden.
Yeah, I mean, you're active in the Sebastian groups. You do talk, you do share, you share a lot.
Oh,
Go home, leave me alone, get away from us. But he told her that, so you're the girl that runs this Facebook group and this, that, and the other. I'm going to demand you take that off. You get your phone. And he said, where are your parents? And she said, at my house. And he said, well, I'm going to find out where you live and I'm going to come knock on their door and we're going to have a conversation. And she said, okay, good luck with that.
that would be my reply.
Look, we don't want to, cause any issues or whatever. I try to give him grace. Don't know the man from nowhere. And I just kept saying, he's upset. His son's missing. He's really upset. He's very defensive. Maybe that's just all that what it was. Now that I've seen some of his YouTube videos, and I'm like, yeah.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that. I didn't know the back end of those details. I know we talked before offline a little bit. You said, kind of like a confrontation, kind of confronted you guys, but I didn't know those like back end.
If that had been me, if I'd been the girl in the back of the car, I could go, hold on, where do I live? And if he'd said, yeah, because I'm going to have a talk to your parents, I'd go, yeah, then here's the address, go and talk to them. Good luck. You know what I mean? I'd give him my address and say, good luck. Because they'd be showing you right where to go.
Details that you shared. Somebody in the chat, Smiley's World, was asking, prior to the February 26th, right, when Chris arrived home, did any neighbors or anyone that you heard, whether you see him, but you said you never knew him prior, did anyone ever say anything about him being around the house on the 25th, the 24th, or seen in the neighborhood or anywhere in the area prior to the
Nobody's ever really mentioned him. The only person that's ever said anything about him coming home, like I said, nobody really ever paid attention. I don't think, because even the neighbor that lives close by that I'm friends with, I asked her, like, did you ever see? She said, I never really paid attention because, like, he would come and go, and they never were out really, and they had this camper, and the camper would leave, and then it would come back, and then, he never came outside. And it's odd because Chris kept saying that he would go outside and play, and,
Hi, Kylie.
all that kind of stuff, and she's like, I don't remember ever seeing him really outside playing. Like, there's no playground. They don't have a playground outside. They don't have a trampoline outside. Like, if you looked at their yard, you wouldn't even know there's no bike. There's no, scooters. There's no basketballs. You wouldn't even know they have kids. There's nothing in their yard to play with. He's never outside. He didn't go outside and play catch with his dad. Nothing.
Now, as you said, pitch black in the neighborhood. Do you buy it where they're claiming that this kid walked out the front door and kind of did that neighborhood?
No. Because everybody around the camera.
Would a kid go out at night and walk around out there at night alone?
I don't think so. I mean, unless their parents didn't know. We did have a ding-dong ditch happen a couple years ago. But no, I mean, I've never experienced kids just randomly walking around the neighborhood. That's the thing about our neighborhood is it's so quiet. Like at night, literally, in the summertime when my kids were younger. Sorry, my car shut off for me for something.
See, you can't really do, like in the UK, it's called knock door run. In the US, it's called ding dong ditch. Right, but you can't really do that no more because everyone's got these ring doorbells. So as soon as you walk up to the door, sorry, that was my alarm. As soon as you walk up to the door, it's gonna show someone at the door. You know what I mean? So you can't even do knock door run or ring door ditch. Those ring doorbells have got a lot to answer to.
tag and stuff like that, and I had to get on to him like, okay, 10 o'clock, y'all need to be done because everybody's got to go to bed, whatever. Nobody ever gets, like, you don't ever just see random kids walking around by themselves. I don't buy that at all, and I know that neighbors that are right around them said that there was nothing on their cameras.
Nothing. No evidence whatsoever for that morning. Not even the 25th. The night of the 25th. Wow. Do you think law enforcement...
He just vanished. He literally just vanished.
What's your theory? What do you think? What do you think happened? What's your theory? Based off you being a neighbor, based off you speaking to other neighbors, you're very close to the area, you've seen law enforcement over there. What do you think happened?
I have to be very careful with that one. I know there were some family issues, like there was some personal stuff going on within the family between Katie and Chris. Seth told us, that he was supposed to get full custody. One minute he says that Katie was okay with it. The next minute I'm hearing that Katie was not okay with it. I don't know their personal story. I know that neighbors are close by them heard fighting within their family outside, verbal things that were said outside. So I don't know that it was, I think there were some struggles within the family. I mean, every family has issues. I get that, but I don't know. Families typically would get into that kind of a dispute outside. I mean, if I was going to have a conflict of interest between my kids and I, or my husband and I, we would be inside. I would be outside making that known. And apparently there were some situations where things were heard that weren't good.
Bobby, when did those fights occur? Do you know?
Over the past, I guess since they've been there periodically. It wasn't like a one-time thing. There were other, times where things were said and that kind of thing. I don't live close enough to them to have heard that. I mean, they would have screamed at each other for me to have heard that. I didn't hear it. But I know that neighbors around them have reported hearing things that were said outside. And it wasn't like a one-time thing.
Any cops ever get called?
Well, I mean, CPS was called multiple times. And I know teachers personally that still work at Beach that were told things and they had to report it. I mean, when a teacher is told, counselors and teachers are told things, they by law have to report it. And I know that, absolutely. And I know that, kids can be over-exaggerating. I know that, especially teenagers, that kind of thing. I think for me, I think my kids would be respectful enough with us that if something happened, I don't think they would go and say, like, my mom was mean to me. Like, they know that's not true, and they would get in trouble for lying. So for him to make up that things that he was saying, I can't imagine him making certain things that were set up enough for CPS to be called on them. And I know they were called multiple times.
Multiple times. So when you say multiple, how many times?
I have no idea. I'm not privy to that information.
Yeah, has any neighbors or anybody tell you that they've seen the CPS at their house? Like,
I don't know. They have not actually used the words "I've seen them at the house," but they've told me that there have been people that have visited an official. Like, I don't know. Like, the car that comes is not going to have CPS written on it. I mean, it may have a government official, like license plate or something like that, and they're not going to have they're going to have a badge on them as they go to the front door, but it's not going to be something that a neighbor is going to see, that kind of thing. So I don't know. Like, neighbors haven't said like I have seen this happen because they were really paying attention. I don't think it was one of those things where I don't think neighbors after this has happened, some of the neighbors are going back and saying, "Wait a minute. I remember this, and I do remember that, and I do remember this, and oh wow, this is like all connected." But when it happens over a year period of time, and it's just random, but then nothing really ever comes of it, you just kind of try to stay in your own lane and mind your own business because you're not hearing, like, I don't know that neighbors heard screaming or, like, I don't know that it was like, if the things that were being said outside were loud enough to make neighbors call. I don't think it was that kind of like, if a neighbor next to me, I heard a kid screaming, "Help me," whatever, I would be calling the police. Like, okay, I'm going to go inside, I'm going to call the police and be anonymous. It wasn't that kind of a thing. It was things that were said and arguments between them that made neighbors think, gosh,
Well, when you say that, are we talking Chris and Katie, or is Seth in the picture too? Is it like, were there arguments with Seth there?
I don't think Seth was ever there long enough. I think he was there long enough to pick Sebastian up for his weekend, or they would meet somewhere for his weekend or something like that. I don't think that Seth was ever there. I think it was mostly the one neighbor told me that she heard. And I'm not going to go into a lot of whole big detail because I don't want to get into their whole personal life. It's not my place. But a neighbor had told me that there were things that were said between like Chris and Katie would get into an argument, like in the driveway, and then Sebastian might come outside and Chris would raise his voice at him, either get inside or what are you doing out here, or make comments to him like that. And like I said, it wasn't like I'm going to kill you or I'm going to beat your butt. It wasn't like such a horrible thing to make a neighbor call 911. It was just very like abrasive enough to now that he's missing, they go back and think, oh,
so kind of like that was kind of what you were saying when the neighbors kind of put these things pieces together after the fact.
Right. It's one of those things that you go back and look and think, oh, okay, so maybe there was something to that. I just didn't realize it.
Have you ever heard anything about the mattress in the garage?
I have, and I have not been able to confirm that. I did hear that the neighbors next to them, when the garage door would come up for her to leave, they saw a mattress in the garage. And well, I mean, Chris admitted that there was a mattress in there. Now he said it was for his daughter, so maybe. But why is it still in there? I don't know. No idea.
Yeah, they said on Nancy Grace that they got a new bed set after missing. But then people are also that it's punishment to you. But I'm not talking about the punishment aspect about Sebastian sleeping in the garage for punishment. Have you heard that?
I did hear that, but I can't confirm it because I had not talked to the neighbors that lived next to them that were the ones that said that. I don't know for a fact they said that. But my thing is, and again, I'm not trying to put anything.
I got one off you. I think it's. Hold on. No, that isn't Miss Kylie's. Hold on. Right. No, I haven't. No, I haven't. Oh, Michelle, those pictures I said that was way, way down in the list. Guess where they are now? They're fourth from the top. They're from yesterday. They've actually got it in the right order now. But no, I haven't had anything off you, Kylie. So, I haven't got nothing, Kylie. Sorry.
Blame on them at all because I don't know them, don't know anything about their personal story, have no idea. I can't confirm any of this, but I just know that I'm surprised that the mattress has been in the garage that long. I mean, if the mattress is for your child, wouldn't it have been put away or put in the? I mean, why is it still in the garage and not in the child's bedroom? And two, the daughter Faith, I don't ever remember her being there. Like if she was there, I mean, maybe one summer. I mean, I'm just surprised that she would have a brand new mattress if she's not there very much. I mean, I don't know. Maybe she didn't have a mattress, and that's the first one.
You spoke earlier about a silhouette and a light inside the night. Talk a little bit about that. People were asking that in the chat. What's that all about?
Okay, so if I go back to day one and kind of rehash a little bit, try to make this as short as possible, the neighbor close by that saw Katie out front on the way to taking her kids to school, she was the one that called me. Friends, good friends with her. She's the one that actually called me and told me what was going on. And said that, I said, well, what happened? And she said, well, I went and asked Katie what happened. And she said, and this is where the story gets totally misconstrued. I don't know. Again, third party, I'm hearing this from another third party source. So, I trust this lady. She's a good friend of mine. There's no reason why she would lie. But she said, when Katie, they got home from Texas Roadhouse, took the trash out, so on and so forth. Sebastian was in his room. She was in the kitchen, I guess, getting, whatever done. And from her house, she's close enough to where she can see from the Ring camera, like the lights inside. It's dark. So, I mean, if you have lights on, you can see it. And so she said that she could see the lights in the house around 10 or so. And Katie told her that Sebastian was in her room. She was in the kitchen. She said, you need to go to bed. And he said, okay. And she goes in the living room and does whatever, watches TV. She says she was studying. I don't know. Whatever, doesn't matter. She's in the living room for whatever reason. And suppose she told my neighbor that she fell asleep. And
say that again. Say it again. You broke up.
She is thunk. And she yelled across the house and said, Sebastian. And he said, yes, Mom. And she said, are you okay? He said, yes, I'm fine. I'm going to go to bed. And she said, okay. So she gets up, and my neighbor said you can actually see his light go off, her walking across the house, her light go off, and then a silhouette come up to the window for a minute. And then everything just goes black.
What time was that again? Because you cut out.
I'm sorry. I know my son was calling me. Okay, so she woke up around 11:30 is what she told my neighbor, that she woke up about 11:30, and apparently he was still up. But I find it odd because my thought is, and again, none of my business, I just think, okay, put yourself in that position. If I have a child who's got special needs and I hear a thump, I'm going to walk into my child. No, let me put it this way. My kids are all very healthy and normal. I'm very blessed to have very healthy kids. But if it's 11 o'clock or 11:30 at night and my kid has to be up at 6 the next morning, I'm going to be in their room yelling at them and taking their electronics away and telling them, go to bed now. I would be walking in my kid's room. Even where my kids are now, healthy and average children, whatever, no problems. If I heard a thunk, I'm probably still going to go in their room and ask, like, what in the world was that? I wouldn't just stay, but, hey, maybe she trusts him. Maybe she thought it was no big deal. I don't know, whatever. But that's what she told my neighbor. And then she goes to bed.
11:30 though. See, that information is not really out there. We keep hearing 10 p.m. kind of deal. Put him to bed. Hear the thump. Are you okay? Good night. 10 p.m.
Right.
This is what she told a neighbor.
That's right. And when I asked my neighbor, so she told me this Monday. And then when the sheriff's office came by our house to do the same door knocking thing and walking around and whatever, I asked the sheriff, I said, let me ask you a question. And he's like, what's that? And I said, I know the early on investigation, they actually were talking to us. Like day 1 and 2, they were talking to us. So they were giving us information. They were telling us kind of what they were going to do and whatever. And then after about a week of it, they just shut down and never would talk again. And the day that the TBI came in, that was it. No more discussion. It shut down. We're not talking about it. You're just going to have to be in the dark. So, but this day 2, when the sheriff's office came in, the state troopers came in. Still don't know why state troopers got there. Haven't figured that one out yet. I don't know why state troopers will be there. The state troopers came in, actually they came into my driveway because they were rinsing their shoes off. They had gone into the construction area and his boots were all muddy. And so he and my son were rinsing his shoes off, and I looked at him and I said, let me ask you a question. I said, like, what's that? I said, if you'd fallen asleep in the living room and your kid walks out the front door, wouldn't you have heard that? And he was like, not only would I have heard that, but I would have jumped up with my gun in my hand to figure out who's coming in my house. Yeah. Because that's the thing is, like, she falls asleep on the couch and her kid just walks out the door. But then when I asked my neighbor about that again, called her the next day, I'm like, okay, explain this to me. This is what you said. I don't understand that. And she said, oh, well, she woke up and then heard the thump and that kind of thing. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's just, it goes with all that in the evening time. At the same time, like you said, no evidence that any neighbors or anyone seen that he actually returned home that day. And then we also have those lights. It's just a mystery in a sense because those mysteries. Somebody asked him, go ahead.
I'm just going to say those were not trash trucks.
I concur. But why did authorities say it doesn't have any evidentiary value?
I asked that when I called the lead detective, and I told him that I know the neighbor. I've seen the video footage from the very beginning before it was edited. She told me with her own mouth, looking at it herself, there are 2 separate occasions, car, then truck. Why is that? We've had it. He argued with me and told me that he had it broken down. The Secret Service looked at it, and they confirmed that, in fact, it was a trash truck. And I said, I'm telling you, it was not. He said, well, I'm not going to say I argue with you. I was like, okay.
Well, I've just seen your message. So, you think you may have a hit for Sebastian at Honeysuckle Meadows RV Park in Cedarville? Is that the one in Smoky Mountains? It is, isn't it? That's the one in Smoky Mountains. Yeah, it's in Smoky Mountains. So you may have a hit. Oh. Well, it does tickle. It's got the tractor there, right? And up in Smoky Mountains, you got some chimney top picnic area or chimney top something, and then you got... There's loads of things up there that tick all the boxes. So...
Somebody said in the chat, any video footage of Katie searching for Sebastian that morning? Like, do they have any, since you have a neighbor that has a Ring camera, did any cameras pick up Katie actually out there searching that morning? Before...
If she, oh, you mean before all the police got there?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the neighbor that was leaving to go take her well, actually, the neighbor's camera did pick up her walking around her house.
Really? So she walked around her house?
Yeah, because in the neighbor, if you're looking to her house, the neighbor to the left of them, that the wife came out and was actually looking. There's like a little like a wood door underneath the house. What do you call that underneath the house? The crawl space. They actually opened up that door and were looking in the crawl space together. And so they were looking. But as far as outside of the neighborhood, I've never seen them, and they've never not that I'm aware of. I mean, I asked my kids, and my kids said they had never seen her, never seen him. They did see Seth, was out there a couple times with everybody. He was at the command post. I have a good friend that was there in the command post, and she confirmed that he was at the command post. But I asked her, I said, did you see Katie or Chris or the Bowers talked? And she said, no, never saw any of them. But then again, she said that, I mean, law enforcement did ask them to stay home in case he came
Just
home.
checking it out now, Kylie.
Do you think law enforcement exhausted the whole area? Like, do you think they did a thorough search of the entire neighborhood and the streets along Long Hollow Pike and the school? Do you think they...
Oh, yeah. I definitely, I mean, I watched it with my own eyes. They were deep in, and they were climbing in the trenches and looking in the sewage areas, and they had dogs everywhere, they had drones everywhere. The question is, and what are they doing with the surveillance cameras? Because what I'm told that neighbors saw, they're denying.
They're denying?
Yes.
Wow. Why is that?
Exactly. I don't know. That was what I asked. I have no idea.
See, what I find interesting, Miss Bobby, is, you know, I was up there, a week and a half later, and then we were searching and on that federal property, and there was a dog hit, and law enforcement didn't even go out there to look at all. It's as if they didn't even care that there could be big that they were. Look, it seems like they've already made up their mind or have a conclusion of what happened to Sebastian.
That is exactly how I have felt since the first week. Literally the first week. Within day, I mean, a lot of people would get on Facebook and, like, you know, belittle our neighborhood and yell at us like, why aren't you guys out looking, and why don't you guys have signs, and why don't you have, if I was in that neighborhood I would flood it with green. And yeah, but you haven't been violated, and you were a part of this where you had hundreds of cars a day driving up and down and taking videos and pictures of your house and stopping and asking you questions, and the news reporters, you know, being out front of your house, and you know, you don't understand where we are, and we just want to just have some peace and some privacy. We are looking, we're out there, we're asking questions, we're talking to each other, we're on social media, we hang out flyers, you know, whatever. We're just not. Why do we need a sign when we're in the neighborhood? I mean, we live here, for heaven's sakes. Why do we need a sign? You know, I mean, we know what's going on. You know, if you drive through here, you know this neighborhood belongs to him. Why do we need a sign to say look for him? But anyway, I feel like from the very beginning, it was a massive search effort. But I just don't understand what they did with, if they found anything, what they did with it. Why are they trying to act like the footage, you know, did they find anything on the footage? From what I'm being told from my neighbors that saw stuff on the footage, and I asked them and they won't deny it, they won't argue with me. Why are they? And then when the TBI came and actually walked into my house, sitting in my living room couch and interviewed me, and I told them what I had heard and whatever, and then after that he gave me his card and said, oh, and I promise you, I had 12 people every day for about 3 weeks from random places. I'm talking Canada, I'm talking UK, I'm talking Hawaii, Puerto Rico. They were trying to get into our private group. Why do you need to be in our private group? Why do you need to be in our neighborhood group? Just want to know stuff? I don't know. I mean, we had just they were coming out of the woodworks trying to get a piece of the information, but they just shut down. And every time I would send the TBI agent, I sent a story about what happened to my son and I, and said I had it on, you know, video, whatever. And I said, do you want to see this? And, you know, it didn't even respond to me. He didn't even respond and say, I will let you know. Hold on to that. Nothing. I didn't even get a response from him.
It seems as if they already know something, and their mind is irrelevant.
feel. I can't prove it. I mean, I don't know for sure, but that's how
I've
I feel.
speeded it
That's
up
what
a
lot of
little
us feel
bit.
like. I mean, a lot of us feel like I had 4 or 5 of my neighbors come over to my house one day, and we sat in my house and talking about all this and kind of sharing stories and stuff of what we feel, and we all feel like something is going on. Something isn't right.
Miss Bobby, somebody in the chat asked if when you had that neighborhood vigil for Sebastian, were the prophets invited?
Oh yeah, it was all over our Facebook page.
So they
absolutely. Well, they were in. Yeah, we had planned it a week before, so it's not like it was last minute. Throw it together. It was, a matter of fact, her profile, like just on her as a posting, and just said, I'd love to have a vigil. Let me know if anybody is doing one. And the family can come as well, and it can just be our private neighbors. And she's like, yeah, that sounds like a good idea to me. So I put it on the Facebook page as a post. I tagged her in it, and I said, hey, this is what's going to happen. This is where we're going to be. And several people posted asking what time. We actually kept going back and forth about what day, what time, and whatever. So did we go to their door and knock on their door and personally invite them? No, but we didn't do that with anybody. And we had a big group show up.
And they knew it. One was existing. You said they brought 2 representatives, family members.
That's the other thing is, that's the other thing is, for a fact they knew because they sent the family.
I've put it back to normal speed.
What did the family say? Like the people that you said that came, uncle and aunt, right? Uncle and aunt, they said?
Yes.
What did they say anything? Did they talk? They
didn't really talk much. They just kind of stood there and listened to us, introduce ourselves, and we went around the circle, put a big circle, and went around the circle, and everybody, said their prayer and whatever, and then afterwards, we just kind of said, hey, do you guys need anything? And we said, do we need food? Can we set up a food train for you? Or, do you need anything? And they both said, oh, we've got a lot of support. We're good. We're fine. Don't worry about us. We're good. We got plenty of support.
Does somebody asked in the chat, does the Prophets have security? Did the neighbor, did you guys know if they had? Katie worked at Brinks, right? Or Brinks security system?
That was the very first thing I asked my neighbor when she told me that Sebastian is on the spectrum. And I said, hold on a minute. Doesn't she work for Brinks? And she said, yes. And I said, she has a special needs child. She works for Brinks. Does she not have security or locks or some kind of like a safety, something to keep him from coming out? And she said, not that I'm aware of. Now, the people before them, I do not believe they had security. They were elderly couples. They didn't, because then Brinks came afterwards and installed. And I know that for a fact because she called me and said, well, they're getting security now. And I think Chris said that was because they felt like they were being threatened and all that kind of stuff, which I can't prove or deny, whatever. That's up to them. That's their business. But from what I understand, they did not have anything before that.
So, interesting. Very, very interesting. Have the Prophets been back at their home? Like, are they there?
She has been. I think she went back to work because she's been home and one weekend. I don't know, but I kind of just stopped. I would drive by once every, like maybe once a week just to see, if they were there, because they were there. I knew to leave to kind of give us a break because we were getting overwhelmed. We were all getting very upset and very overwhelmed with all the traffic and stuff. And, I do appreciate her saying for recognizing that. However, I was really shocked because I felt like that if
she does, doesn't she? She does know a lot, being as she didn't really know him. No, I only said there's no mannequin on the tractor. That's why I went on to Google Maps then for mannequin. I've never seen a mannequin on a tractor.
my kid was missing, I don't want to say I would handle it differently because I don't ever want to be put in that situation, and I don't want to make karma kind of.
Me, right? There's 2 of them in that house. 2 of them. So if law enforcement said to me and my husband, you can't go out and look. We don't want you looking. You need to stay home in case they phone you or come back home. I'll go, well, he can stay. I'm going. And you're not stopping me. Because to stop me, you're going to have to A, put me in a straitjacket, and B, lock me the feck up. Because you are not stopping me from going out there to find my child. He can sit here and answer the phones if he wants. If he wants to go in with me, fine. I'll find someone else to sit here and answer the fucking phone. But then again, I've got my mobile. So there. Shove it. Hi there. Nisi Tinsha. When I Google Maps, there is mannequin. Oh. Well, this is Google Earth. I'll try Google Maps another time, but nice to see you here. So yeah. Oh.
For me, but I can't imagine leaving my house if my child was missing.
Yeah, no. I mean, she's been called out by that. I mean, she's claiming that she can't wait to come into the door, Bubba, and
but I'm not her. I'm not her, and I can't. I'm not gonna say that she did the wrong thing because I have no business saying that. I'm just surprised. I do appreciate the fact that she did recognize that we were getting overwhelmed with traffic and whatnot. So I do appreciate that. But and we were. But I would just think that maybe Chris goes back to work and she stays there just in case. But everybody handles things differently, and if that's what she thought she needed to do, then nobody does that.
But they haven't, since this incident happened, they really don't come out at all, interact with anybody.
Well, yeah, I mean, I've seen them interact with a neighbor very close to them a couple of times, be out talking to one of the neighbors, but I have not seen them out talking to anybody else.
There's rumors that they might be moving. You know anything about that? Have you heard?
I've heard that so many times, and there's no confirmation of that.
Interesting.
I've asked we have a couple of realtors in our neighborhood, and I've asked them, and they've not. Like, I have not heard any confirmation of that.
One more thing, has the detectives or authorities ever go back to their house, like in certain time, like maybe like a week or 2 weeks after Sebastian went missing? Have they ever returned to the home?
Oh yeah, they came back. What was it, week 2 or 3? They came back and basically started it all over again. Started the searching all over again, and they also reenacted the whole scene, and they started at 10 o'clock Sunday night-ish, or was it something like that, Sunday night, going into the early next morning to see if they could kind of retrace each of the steps and everything that happened.
That type of deal?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Interesting, but nothing seems like their evidence and got something out of that, possibly.
If they did, they're not telling us.
They're not. How's the neighborhood now?
I think it's getting better. I mean, I'm noticing a lot of neighbors are getting out more and walking dogs again and talking. And I think people think
yes, please, Kylie.
all, huddled together talking about everything that's going on, and it's not like that at all. I think we're all just trying to stay out of it, trying to give them their space and kind of stay away from everything. And we just don't. I know for me, I don't want to get into their personal business. I just don't want to be that neighbor that's all super nosy and thinks that she knows everything, because I don't know.
You love my housemate. She knows everything. Honest. I said to her, right? I said to her the other day, we were talking about when she moves into a new place, hopefully in May, right? Because the woman moves out by the end of April, she'll be moving in by the beginning of May. And I said, hey, Ange, you'll have new neighbours to keep a lookout out on now, won't you? You'll be able to tell me what those neighbours up the road are doing now. Because honest to God, because from my kitchen window, you can look over and you can see my son's part of the beginning of the house, right? The living room window, and you can see the two top bedroom windows, but you can't see the front door, right? And many times, especially in the summer, like when we've been out there at like 11, 12 o'clock at night having a ciggy, she's gone. Or even in the daytime, oh, I don't know. So I said to Simon at work today, and she go, oh, I don't know. So go over, go look over, go right down the driveway and look up a bit. No, his car's not there, so he's at work. But really, Ange? Or she'll stand there and go, what have they got on their windows? Oh, they've gone to bed early. Their bedroom lights are on. I'm going, fuck's sake. You know what I mean? Hi, Cooper. But she knows everything. Honest to God. If I want to find something out, I've only been here for 9 months. I'll just ask my friend. So.
What happened? I don't understand. This kid did not just vanish. He just didn't vanish.
But does any neighbors think it was a kidnapping, or like think their children are?
So that was the very first thing I asked on Wednesday when TBI came and sat down with me and talked to me. And I looked at her and I said, I get that you guys are being super polite about this because it is still an investigation. However, if this kid was kidnapped, don't you think you might want to tell us so that we can kind of lock our kids up and, you know, be safe or whatever? And she, instead of her, and I guess is, you know, again, part of the investigation, she said, well, you should always do that.
That's interesting. Yeah, they have a responsibility. I mean, if one of their theories is Sebastian got kidnapped, and they never said Sebastian was kidnapped.
But there was there were no cars that came up their street and then left up their street and left. The only car that was ever seen was the one that was on Kellen that parked on the corner of Stafford and Kellen for about 3 or 5 minutes, where the flashlights came towards it, backed up and left. And then the trash truck, and then Katie's SUV, and then the police, or then the school bus, and then the police. So there was no other car that ever drove up Stafford.
Was it a car?
She spoke about that, about the first night she saw someone walking across with a torch. Then the next night she saw someone with like goggles on and a woman who was it looked like a woman. And a woman and a guy walking together, and the guy had some goggles on or something, and that was the night they went out in the car, and that was the night when Chris apparently stopped him and told him to get out the area. He said, I live here. Go fuck yourself, Harvey. Just said, just run him over. That was arguing, put your foot on that pedal and fucking run him over. Right? So she's already spoke about that. So, yeah. Oh, is that on Google Maps? But this looks like there's no RVs there. Looks like a few RVs there, but no RVs over here. So I wonder if this is an earlier picture or a later picture. I don't know. So we're nearly finished.
That the light went to, or like an SUV or a car? Like what type of vehicle was it?
I don't know. I don't remember. Just the words that where I was told was unidentified car. I don't know if it was an SUV or a car or what. That was just what I was told. It was an unidentified car. And that was another thing is when I asked the lead detective, I said, this car that was on Kellen, he was like, yeah, we already figured that out. That was an Uber. And I was like, no, the Uber was a neighbor on Devon that ordered an Uber about 5:30 to go to the airport. I know that. But the car sitting on, why would a car sit on Kellen if they were going up the street to get the customer to leave. I mean, you don't sit there.
Coincidentally, at the same time, lights are flashing around the time.
Well, at the same time, the trash truck would have been through there. So you wouldn't have gotten that confused. Why would a car be sitting on a road like around 3:30, 4 o'clock Monday morning? I mean, it just doesn't make any sense.
Well, one thing I say, and it's the truth, law enforcement is not obligated to tell the public the truth.
That's true.
We have law enforcement the truth if we're being interrogated or questioned or whatnot, in a sense, because you could be, charged with lying. But they're not under any legal obligation. I mean, morally, you would think they would tell the truth, but they don't legally have to. They can lie to the public, and they do. So maybe they're keeping things close to the vest.
I was just really surprised. My thought is this, if you were to ask an officer a direct question, if he can't discuss it, instead of arguing with me, the response should have been, I can't confirm or deny that. I can't discuss that. We're still in investigation. Instead of him flat out lying about or defending it and arguing with me, why didn't he just say, was that still part of the investigation? I can't comment on that. And I would have simply said, okay, you're right, I understand.
Yeah,
but he didn't.
I've just gone to that place on Google Maps, and I'm getting the same picture that I'm getting on Google Earth. I'm not getting this picture. So let's sort some out here. Right. Trying to get maybe. No, I'm getting the same picture that I have on Google Earth. Yeah, I know it's a big place. You know what I mean? As I said, this is what I'm getting. The same view as I get on Google Earth. That's what I see on Google Earth. And when I go down, right? When I go down, same again. There's the office. There's the office. And there's more over the back. So, hold on. I don't know. I'm not getting that picture though. I'm getting the same as what I get if I go on Google Earth. No, there's two. Yeah, that isn't there, is it, in your pic? It might be the other side of it. It might be the other side, we just can't see it. It's like in this pic, you can see this side and you can just make out the hail by the other side. Right? So in this pic of yours, the hail bale might be being blocked by the wheel on the tractor on the other side. because there's a shadow. If you look under the tractor on that picture of yours, you've got the shadow of the tractor, and right underneath there's another shadow, which is the other side of the wheel, of that big wheel. So I think the bale hail is there. Yes, on the other side, yeah. Well, I've got to finish this off, because I don't want to make this a two-parter. I really don't.
Integrity of the investigation, no comment.
That's what I would have done. I mean, that's usually what they do. Why argue with me and try to convince me otherwise? It's like he was trying to convince me. Leave that alone. Stop talking about it. That's not part of this.
Gotcha, Bobby. Is there anything else you would like to add that I didn't ask, or anything that you want to put out there that the public should know? That we forgot.
I don't think so. I think we pretty much covered everything. I just know that, we want this resolved as badly as anybody does. I would love just for this to be over and him to come home, but I really just wish people would, around social media just got really nasty and ugly and started attacking us. One of our neighbors, I will say this, one of the neighbors that live close by, they got the whole rumor about Katie having an affair with a neighbor, what started that?
Interesting. So that's not true. I saw that circulate.
In the world, not only that, but one of the neighbors, precious, sweet family, I know them personally, they are a great family. They got so attacked by this rumor that their kids started being bullied at school, saying that your parents are the ones that were swingers, started being called swingers. They started getting phone calls from people all over the country claiming that they were swingers.
Yeah, that rumor
was so bad.
Not true at all. About
not that I know.
Neighbor, yeah, that was never. And so that neighbor was getting harassed then, huh?
Bad. It was really bad. People just get so, I know that they want answers. I know everybody just really wants answers. Heavens, we want answers. We're living in the middle of this. We want answers. We want all this to go away. We want the truth to be found. We want this to just be solved and be done with. But making things up and, coming to your own conclusion because you don't have an answer is not helping us at all. It's not helping the family, and I'm not here by any means to defend Chris and Katie by any means. I don't know them. I don't know anything about them to defend them. I'm just saying that making up stuff is only hurting our neighborhood, because now you've got people who are harassing us and neighbors wanting information and that kind of thing, and driving all around. Now, the driving through the neighborhood has calmed down immensely, so that's good.
That would be driving like just regular, like YouTubers, curiosity seekers, just crime tourists, sometimes just crime tourists.
Well, there were, at the beginning, there were a lot of, YouTubers that were coming through the neighborhood, and they would stop and get out of their car and walk up and down the street, videoing, taking pictures and whatever, and it was
maybe the second week, but not the first week, love. Not that first week. Because as I keep saying, law enforcement and everything was all over that area the first week. Right? The only people in the area who was reporting anything was the news channels. That was it. YouTubers, as I said, a lot of the YouTubers didn't pick up on this until the weekend after he went missing. A lot of them did not, because I kept saying, where are all these bigger channels? I was only a small channel, and there was no big channels. There's Trev Time, right? And I think JLR was in at it from the beginning, picked up on it from the beginning. But Betty didn't come into it until, what, end of March, April time? So Justin coming on it around about after Magdalene Soto got found, which was on the Friday. So he came in on this case on the Saturday, Sunday, something like that. And then I seen these other channels picking up on it. I thought, thank God, more channels are now picking up on this. So there weren't a lot of YouTubers out there the first week. Maybe the second week, like JLR, and not even Buller and Betty. Clue was one of them that went round, drove round by their house and everything. She went round in the daytime, she went round during the night time. So she was another one that was on it from the beginning. But then she went to the dark side. I just have 2, maybe 3 I like. I can't do BHB. JLR or Dolly. Dolly, no. No, I can't do him. BHB is okay. She's a bit like me. She has the times where she rants. But she'll rant all the way through her life. But I'll have my little rant at the beginning. Get out my, and then I'll get on with what I want to talk about. But JLR, he just, yes, what has happened lately, it's come out lately, is not good, not nice, if it's true. Right? But you can't fault him on his work. So I don't use JLR very often, not in the Sebastian Rogers case, only for certain interviews like this one. And things like that. I know there's one I've got to put on for my compilation of Seth interviews. I've got to put that one on a JLR we did at that park. Right? But I bet it's okay if she's not having a ranting session. If she's having a ranting session, I'll scroll on. And then I'll come back a bit later if she's still on. And if she's still ranting, then I'll just don't bother. But if she's talking about a missing child's case or Sebastian, right, or something like that, Sebastian and Nancy Grace, or one of the cases that I'm covering, then if she's talking about, I'll listen. But if she's ranting, then no. If you want to have a rant, then fine, have a rant. Get it over and done with and get it out of the way at the beginning. Dolly is just one for the money, I think. Because when he went to Nancy Grace, he sat there and he's going, like someone sent him a snap or whatever it is they send him. And he's going, oh, thank you for that, so because being down here is really, really expensive, having to hire book hotel rooms, and then there's the food, and then there's this, and then there's that, and it's constant, right? And I don't like that. JLR goes wherever the news takes him. He does not just missing cases, he does tornadoes, he does everything. He's one of those tornado chasers. He's been there, he's done it. You know what I mean? He's done a lot. So I can't put him down for his work, but if that is what he's like, then no, I can't condone that. Yeah. So anyway, let's just finish this.
Huge invasion of privacy. There's nothing we can do about it because it's a public street. I get that, but have some respect. And then just local people, I guess, feeling like the police weren't doing enough, so they were going to get out themselves and drive, and they would just drive up and around and just drive around over, like up and down around the hill and that kind of thing.
That pretty much calms down.
Yes, that's almost stopped. But they had 2 neighbors that were trying to sell their house, and neither one of them can sell it.
Oh, really?
Nope, they both took them off the market because they were getting too many.
So 2 people tried to sell their home after this incident happened, and they can't sell it?
Actually, one family actually had their house on the market before this happened, and then when this happened, their realtor just told them to take it off the market because they were getting more phone calls just being nosy than they were legitimately asking about the house. And then the other neighbor on the other cul-de-sac actually put their house on the market right afterwards and ended up taking it off.
See, these are things people don't know about. It's interesting, because of that, like devaluing the neighborhood or people.
No mention of the 2 neighbours that had to move out of their homes because of the threats towards them. Yeah, 2 neighbours had to move out of their home because they was getting threats from giving them and harassment and things like that. I don't know. They probably moved back now. I don't know. They probably have because, as we know, CP and KP are not living in that house. They might show up every so often. You know what I mean? But they're not living there.
Might like, hey, I don't want to move to a neighborhood where a child went missing and is still missing. It has a lot of affects people, that not just the Proudfoots and Seth Rogers, but the whole neighborhood in general. It causes some bad things to happen with everyone. And man, I'm sorry that's happened.
I don't think anybody is going to go anywhere until this is resolved because I don't know anybody that would want to move into all this. Why would you want to move into a neighborhood where a kid just vanishes?
Exactly, because there's the type of neighborhood where you want to.
I'd be the worst neighbor.
Career, raise your children, and
safely and securely.
Yes, and I've been there. I've been in the area. Those homes are beautiful. I would love to have a dream house like that. Like it's nice, and just can't imagine. Like just a neighborhood that's never seen probably any crime ever. There's no crime neighborhood, right?
We had one incident many, many years ago that was resolved in one day, over and done with, and never had anything else. This is the kind of neighborhood that, like I said, my twins were born in that house, and when they were little, I didn't let them go out by themselves, but I would feel comfortable with them going outside in the yard, as long as it was like, just don't get in the street, because we live on the main road, and you'd have the big trucks and you have the school bus and that kind of thing coming through, and I would just say, stay in the yard. But I didn't have to worry about somebody coming up and grabbing them. I just never felt that. I never feared that. I knew my neighbors. My family all lived in the neighborhood with me. My parents lived there. My brother and sister used to live there. We all lived there together, and my kids would walk in between the yards to her house, and her kids would walk in between the yard to my house. My kids would go up the corner and play basketball with the neighbor kids, and they would all ride bikes around, and you just never worried about anybody coming in and doing anything.
But now people are kind of worried.
I'm not seeing kids out playing like they used to be.
It's sad, because kids need to get out a little bit with the fresh air and the great outdoors, the outdoors in their yard and stuff. It's just so sad. Hopefully this young man gets found and your neighborhood can get back to normal, a sense of normalcy. I know everyone is a little bit on edge still, pins and needles, but really appreciate you coming on and providing insight. Everyone is very grateful. People in the chat, if you got some questions for Bobby, just leave in the chat and I'll talk to you offline and maybe you can answer some of the questions. But I really appreciate you coming on. I really never really heard from a neighbor really coming on the record speaking about it. Sorry you had to go through this, man. And I met
we all just were trying to be quiet.
I met your children when I was out there. You got the coolest sons out there. Tell them I said.
Right, it's the end there. Right, so yeah, she does seem to know a lot, being as she says she doesn't know them. She knows a lot, but she is admin of that the housing estate, right? That area, for that area only. So only people who live there are accepted onto the page, and so she seems to know a lot because people put things up on their page. So yes, she's going to know what people are doing because she has to accept them or not accept it or whatever. You know what I mean? Unless I've got a Facebook page for my 5G diamond art. Now, I am so lucky I have got two. One brilliant admin, and she took this other woman around while I was having my treatment, right? And she's not admin, she's something else. But those two literally run my page. I go on every so often, I post some work I've done just to say, hello, I'm still here, I'm still alive, you know what I mean? But I don't have to worry about it, and I've got over, 4,000 plus members. So, I never put private life on here, just not my style. Well, I talk about my life, anything. There's a lot of stuff I don't talk about, right? And it took me a couple of years to talk about me having the big C. It took me a couple of years to openly talk about that. So, because when I was first diagnosed, I told my son and daughter, I said, do not tell anyone. And I said that to my son. He tells Angie, right, his mother-in-law. She then goes and tells her manager, her boss at her, where she was working. And I went, why did you tell her? She said, just in case I'm ever needed to help out at all. Well, she was needed, right? She was needed I had my operation on the Monday. I come home on the Tuesday, and on the Thursday, my son and daughter-in-law were up at the hospital with the little girl. So I had Ellis, and I was just literally wiped out. So having how old had he been then? A 5-year-old, yeah, 4 to 5-year-old, and in being as active as he was, constant. He phoned Angie up and said, can you come over and help Angela out? So she did. But then on the Friday, Simon had to go back. He come back on the night time, tried to stay at the hospital. On the Friday, he got me to phone Angie up again to ask if she could come again. And she said, well, it is a bit short notice. Right? So, but then anyway, she did. But she didn't come to me. No, she went to the hospital. So I said, what was the point in you leaving work early then, Angie? The point was for you to come here to look after Ellis, to keep an eye on Ellis while I got some rest. Not for you to go up to the hospital where you wasn't needed. You know what I mean? So that kind of annoyed me that she told her boss and then she didn't really help out that much. So, and then there's a guy I was seeing at the time, and I told him, and then I never heard of him again after that. Never heard of him again. Didn't message me. I told him before I had my operation, I told him in, March, April. My son got married in, was it May? Yeah, May. I told him before my son's wedding, right? And I told him I had a date for an operation in June. He didn't come to the wedding where he was invited to. He didn't message me. He didn't even message me while I was in hospital. Same as my family, I told my sister. I said, don't tell everyone, please. But she told Malcolm, my brother. Now, all the family knew about me, right? Not one of my family, apart from my sister, got in touch with me. The guy I was seeing never got in touch with me again, and I haven't spoke to him since. So that's why I'm very cautious about opening up about anything like that. True, Michelle, if I didn't have the kids, I wouldn't have Facebook or anything. I probably would be on here. I probably would come on YouTube eventually. You know what I mean? But I wouldn't have. I have X. I've got X, but I don't use it. I use it for my lives and just to post things about certain things. You know what I mean? But I don't message my family on X. I don't send messages to my family through X. Don't tag them in it or anything. So, and I think it's only my sister that's following me now on X. I think it's X. No, TikTok. I've got TikTok, but again, I only use that for the missing child cases, for my little short videos to go on, and my sister's following me on that, and that is it. None of my family, no one else follows me apart from my son and my daughter. You know what I mean? They follow me, but otherwise, no one follows me from my other family, rest of my family. I hardly use it. I hardly even use the one I opened one up for crime and justice. I hardly use that now. To be honest with you, I might close that one down because I don't use it. I really don't use it. So I might just close that one down because, as I said, I don't use it. But no, if it wasn't for my kids, I wouldn't have Facebook. As I said, I don't use it now because I'm literally 10, 15 seconds. I'm not even a 30-second walk away from my sons. Not even a 30-second walk. Right? And I'm about a minute walk away from my daughter. So if I want to tell them anything, I can send them a message. Right? But I have to use WhatsApp here to phone them because I can't get a signal all the time. The signal drops all the time where I live. And the only way I can talk to my daughter and my son on the phone is by phoning them on WhatsApp. And that's the only reason I've got WhatsApp is because of that. So I can phone my daughter up or phone my son up. But no, if I didn't have the kids, I wouldn't be on any social media. No big thing to it, you know what I mean? There isn't. There really isn't. But like I said, I do talk about my family on here, but there's a lot I don't talk about because I don't feel it needs to be put on here. But she reminds me, as I said, about my friend, that's my son's mother-in-law. She has to know everything. She really does. It's like once Simon told me something, right? And it was over here talking about it. And Angie said, "You didn't tell me." I said, "I knew." I know she come over and she been to Simon's and she come back and she's telling me. I said, "Oh, I already know that." "Oh, well, you didn't tell me." I said, "I don't have to tell you everything, Angie." You know what I mean? Which I don't. So you take this, what you've heard tonight, with either a pinch of salt or not. But there's just things she said that in there that I thought, really? And to be honest with you, in a way, Chris is right. Why would you go looking for someone who's just been walking around with goggles on and everything when you know there's a child just gone missing in your area? You wouldn't do that, would you? I know the feck I wouldn't. I'd be alright on the phone. Saying we got some weirdos round here with goggles on. Come and check it out, you know what I mean? So, anyway. Oh, there's one thing that I did want to share with you. I put it on my ex account. I put a lot of things on my ex account. So that's it. That's right. And every reason I've got my ex account. Now, this is a TikTok. And I have seen this before. And I'm not sure if I've ever shared it. Right, I'm just going to close some windows down because I don't need all these windows open. And I come across it again today. So I'm just going to quickly show you now when my ex opens up. Oh, come on. Pardon me. Oh, here it is. All right. I'll share it in a minute when it opens up. Oh, it takes so long to open up anything on this laptop. I want to do a good clean out on it. Oh, can't reach this page. What do you mean I can't reach this page? I've only posted it today. Right, let's take this down. Take that banner off. And then I'll share this with you. I don't know if anyone has seen this before, but this was a while ago when I last saw this. But it's interesting because I kept stopping it and going back, stopping. Right, come on. Just make sure you can see.
Search for a little over a week before officials.
I was on a boat with this kid when I did this viral video with this white guy that said the hard R to me.
Say, hey, nigga, shut up.
Hey, nigga, shut up.
For some reason, I thought that it was something weird that was going on with the kid because he kept looking at me like he needed help. But I wasn't sure. I was just trying to mind my business. This is the kid right here in the back of this video.
Oh, come on. Fucking out TikTok. I really hate TikTok. I'm trying to get it so I can replay it again. And it won't. I want to scroll down.
This kid right here been missing for 8.
Right. See that picture there? Right. The woman who's walking with him has got long, mousy blonde hair. Watch the woman.
8 months.
Sebastian Rogers has not been seen since February 25th.
15-year-old Sebastian Rogers disappeared nearly 5 months ago, and his father,
for
Seth,
a little over
is
a week
still searching.
before officials.
I was on a boat with this kid when I did this viral video with this white guy that said the hard R to me.
Say, hey, nigga, shut up.
Hey, nigga, shut up.
Look.
For some reason, I thought that it was something weird that was going on with the kid because he kept looking at me like he needed help. But I wasn't sure. I was just trying to mind my business. This is the kid right here in the back of this video. The lady that he was with, she looked it crazy.
Her hair.
Was like a kid.
Look at her hair. It's not exactly brilliant, but I'll try and get it a bit bigger for you. Can I get this bigger? I don't think I can. But that reminds me of KP from the back. You know, when she's just washed her hair sort of thing, and it's like a bit wavy and whatever. Or she's got half up and half down sort of thing. So
that, I don't know, she just looked it weird, but it was just weird the whole time just singing them. This video, I haven't been asleep in like 4 or 5 days because of the fact that I know that I could have
now this was put out on
saved
the
a life. We were in a whole different
12th,
country. We were in Miami.
24.
We went to Miami, then we went to the DR. We went to Turks and Caicos, 4 other different countries, 4 other different places. This is really scary, bro. Like, if y'all was in my shoes, y'all will understand. Like, this dude was on the news, everything. Kind of hurts my feelings because this kid was missing for 8 months, and I was on the same boat with him, and he was actually needed help. And I thought in my head he needed help, but I didn't help. So it's like it kind of eased me up at night. At both, y'all was wondering what boat that was. That was the Mardi Gras in Miami, Orlando, Florida, not Miami, Orlando, Florida. We went to Cancun, we went to the BR, and we went to the Turks and Caicos. And this kid was on the boat with me the whole time. A missing kid that been gone for 8 months. So if y'all want to reach out any people that's his family or anything, let me know and I will hit y'all up. This kid right here been missing for 8 months.
Sebastian Rogers has not been seen since February 25th.
15-year-old Sebastian Rogers.
So I don't know what you make of that, but it was a TikTok, and I had seen it before, and I'd forgotten about it actually. So I thought, oh, I'll save it on my X account because then I know where to find it. And even though that lad is taller than the woman, you got to remember this was posted on the 28th of December 2024. He was, how old would he been then? 16 then. Because he was 15 when he went missing. On the 7th of December, he was 16. Right. So he could have shot up. He could be a lot taller now. So I thought I'll just share it with you anyway. Anyway, I'm going to have to go because it is like 11:15. I haven't had my tablet yet. So I've got to have something to eat, have my tablet, and then go to bed. So thank you all for being here tonight. Take what you want of that interview. I have got the video without any interruptions, without me stopping, blurting my mouth off or anything on my page. So if you want to watch it there, you can do. And I will see you all. What day are we on? Wednesday. I'll see you all tomorrow. Until then, stay safe. Please hit that like button as well. It really does help. So stay safe, everyone. Thank you all for being here. Good night.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement. Everything I do so instinctive and so passionate. Every word I move so descriptive like an adjective. I got a vendetta against people who patented being negative when you should be getting after it. I got facts over tracks, this and that, spitting slow, spitting fast. I could roast, I could gas, think I'm okay at last, but I don't know if that can erase all the past. And the pettiness, a reflection of the emptiness. Hilarious, you did do it